Which one is the best BMW M SUV? Join us for this very interesting performance comparison test with the BMW X6 M60i. Then the true X6 M versus the X5 M. Electric, the iX M60. Then this all-new model, the BMW X M. And going smaller for the BMW X3 M40i versus true M model, the BMW X4 M, and the very recent model, the smallest one, the BMW X2 M35i. Join us here for this SUV episode, enjoy everything in full length with us together, and tell me also which one is your favorite. Join in the comment section, and let's go.
A full driving review of the updated BMW X6 with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go here with the changed front double kidney, and actually this is here with the vertical fins, the double kidney that the X6 M had before. Now also here for the M performance model, the M60i with the 8-cylinder in our test here today. The M Sport Pack with accentuations in the lower part is always standard for every X6 model now. Of course, and also the same here for the M Performance model. Changed headlamps with a new daytime running light in this arrow design. It's pretty interesting, and you only see when it's on when you come around here a little bit, when you look at it from the front. Then you see that they're actually on at this moment. Also interesting that when you hit the turning indicators or the hazard lights, it has this pulsing effect. That's a pretty cool thing. Also this color, I think, is a very interesting green. It's called Isle of Man green, so special M racing color. The length at 4.96 m or 195 inches, and this side silhouette with the falling roof line and the really strong hip area. Some are on team love, some are on team hate about that. Which one are you on? Tell me in the comments. Wheels from 20-inch. This is here 21-inch and optional even 22-inch wheels, but I think you shouldn't go too large because you lose riding comfort then. Talking about the riding comfort, as for the suspension, it's very interesting. You can get the normal adaptive suspension, which is already a little bit stiffer in the X6 because the M Sport Pack is standard. Then you can go for the professional M suspension, and that one then is even stiffer. Then you also get the rear axle differential lock, rear axle steering, and an anti-tilt control. Or you can also go directly to an air suspension. That's also possible depending on how sporty the ride needs to be for you. The air suspension gives you the widest span between sportiness and comfort. Here, by the way, we have special mirror caps in carbon fiber. This is an option. They also have this special, like aerodynamic M4. The rear axle steering, by the way, moves 3 to 4 degrees in the opposite direction than the front wheels, reducing the turning circle massively. Rear design here, very horizontally drawn tail lamps with a nice signature. Then there's a really fat M60i badge in this very version. I like that the vehicle color is picked up in the lower part of the vehicle. However, here, Autogefühl fake exhaust police alert, because the outer tips are fake. Here this middle split, then the real exhaust on the inside. Yeah, they would be beauty enough, aren't they? And in a time where turning indicators get smaller and smaller, this is definitely wide enough. Honestly, sound-wise for the V8, here in Europe we have the OPF, that's the particle filter then for the petrol engines. So the sound on the US models will be different. So I think in Europe, sound-wise, it doesn't even make sense to go for the V8. In the US, it will sound still, much more growling. Engines with the BMW X6, the 3-liter inline 6-cylinder diesel or petrol, or then this one here, M60i M Performance model, 4.4-liter V8, 530 horsepower and 4.3 seconds is the acceleration figure. Above that, there's only the true X6 M model, but it houses the same base engine. Yes, a little bit more horsepower, a little bit quicker in the acceleration, but also like 50k difference in the pricing. So if you want to go V8, this is the more clever choice, and you will already have more than enough performance. We'll show you all of that in the driving part. Plug-in hybrid, by the way, not available for the X6, only for the X5. Key fob always features the M colors because the M Sport Pack is standard for the X6. Then door closing sound. That's really cool, very solid. And look also here, the panel gap, build quality, everything really even inside of the doors. You have everything very slick and clean, also here with the contour stitches and so on. The Hofmeister kink design also for the inside door handle, inspired by old BMW vehicles from the exterior part. Then of course the M steering wheel, here also with contrast stitching, really colorful, but I like we still have real buttons on the steering wheel. But the new cockpit, that is something really different. Command driving position like you have in a large SUV. However, these here are the M Sport seats and they are stiffer as for the bolstering and also feel a little bit sportier overall. So I recommend either to stick with the normal sport seats or for the best comfort, pick the comfort seats. They're a little bit wider and softer. And the normal sport and comfort seat also offer the Sensación high-grade leatherette with the softest bolstering. Here the M Sport seat, only available in animal skin. Interior cockpit overview with huge changes. Here you now have this curved screen, one unit, two screens separately of course, then 12.3 inch, 14.9 inch. And the climate unit inside the screen always stays at this very level. Then the climate knobs here are gone. To me, that's a downside. You still can control the vents here manual and has a nice clicking sound. And new ambient lighting. Here I put it also in green. You can change the colors. In this case, because it's the M performance model, you also have the M badge. Otherwise it would say X6 then in base models. Digital instruments come to life when you start up the vehicle like this. And then, oh, there's the 8-cylinder. And they all have mild hybrid technology now, by the way, these engines. So that's a face up to therefore you also see this battery symbol that you can also gain back some energy via regenerative braking. And here the content, you can have different contents in here. For example, also the map from the Apple CarPlay, for example, that's also possible. 3 important things to consider for this middle console unit. A, don't pick the high gloss black because it collects fingerprints and scratches and so on, but there are different decors available. Second thing, slide this open, adaptive cup holders, oh, cooled and heated, that's nice. But then here, the inductive charging pad for the phone, don't use it. Your phone does overheat and they do not implement a cooling function, also not in the facelift. Here, just use the cable charger and then put your phone on the cable. Then, third thing, this is this option for the crystalline look here for the shifting lever and also here inside of the turning and pressing knob. This is blinding you, it looks maybe fancy, but just go for the standard option. But by the way, you can see here, this is now integrated, really slim and small. Before you had the real shifting lever, it is pro and con. It looks cleaner, but it feels less sporty. News also as for the software, BMW OS 8.5. It cannot be retrofitted for OS 8.0 models because there's also more hardware underneath for that. And you have this home screen with the CarPlay maps, and here on the left side you can also easily access again the consumption data, for example. This is a good thing because so far it was really hidden deep in the menu and there's still like so many functions left. So they created this new home screen to make it easier. Heated steering wheel and heated seats are, by the way, accessed right here. Yeah, to me it's also a little bit too complicated. That's the only downstep with this upgrade. Rear seats, yeah, it's kind of like a black hole than here in this very trim. Nice Alcantara black headliner though, that is actually quite fancy. Legroom, this is the catch of this vehicle. You hardly have any legroom considering the length. However, here from the height, also when you're tall, you can sit here in the rear. That's no problem at all. What I find cool is that I still have a manual climate unit here then for the rear seats. As for the trunk, this is of course somewhat a compromise here with an SUV coupe because that area here is lower. Then you have this folding mechanism for this cover, 580 liters, about a meter or 40 inches in length, but 110 or 45 inches in width. And the height here is actually fine. You can also reach over then here to fold the seats from here. That's possible. And again, just this height in the very front part, this is the limitation with like 45 centimeters or 18 inches. All right, let's go. Plop, that's 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour. Yeah, that about this V8 M60i. You can scream, it's okay. Yeah, she tried to hold back a little bit. Yeah, that was pretty powerful. Of course, all-wheel drive. with rear axle bias. Yeah, it's 530 horsepower playing all the effect right there. Whew! Yeah, that is giving you the goosebumps or the adrenaline. And here now, adaptive suspension, sportier note, here with the M suspension professional, even stiffer actually. Then anti-tilt control, that means the car is always keeping it upright. Rear exit steering we also have in this one, rather plays an effect on lower speeds to reduce the turning circle and so on. Wow, this doesn't feel like driving an SUV actually. And whereas the X5, especially in standard trims, doesn't come close like to the sportiness of a Porsche Cayenne, here in the M60i trim and also with the stiffer suspension, yeah, this is matching the Porsche Cayenne in the sportiness, or at least coming close. So you can definitely compare these. You know, in the corner, also really good. As for the steering feel, very precise how you steer in the vehicle. You know what the vehicle is doing, and I'm really happy with the steering feel in the X5 and in the X6 as well. Yeah, there you hear the V8 definitely even louder than in the US versions without that petrol engine particle filter. Whew, wow. I mean, in tight corners you still feel the weight, yes. And the low-seating sedan sports car or something will be sportier in the corners because of the center of gravity. But still, considering for an SUV, this is as good as it gets. And I'm not really sure if the true M version would deliver you so much more driving fun. It is just stiffer, you know, and of course way more expensive. So if you ask me, this is totally fine here. And I think the M60i is also the better everyday vehicle because although you have the stiffer setup here in the M suspension, it still feels really nice to drive. Also, no, I was checking if it's an animal or just a leaf on the road. Also thinking the adaptive suspension is totally fine if you compare it to a possible air suspension in this vehicle, because here you have the compromise between sportiness and comfort. And even though we have 21-inch wheels, okay, the road is actually quite good here also. We're driving around, you know, Bavarian towns here at this moment, and of course what was outside. We have to see how it gets when it's a little bit bumpier, but wow, what a driving experience. Very cool, sporty driving here. Really enjoying that. Wow. Yeah, so difference X5, X6 is more about really what suspension you pick. So you can configure both in an equal way. You know, that the one is a little bit cut off in the back doesn't make such a difference. It's more than, do you have an M Sport pack for an X5? Do you go for the adaptive M suspension professional? Or do you pick an air suspension? So you can really vary that according to the suspension picks you are doing. Then here in the city, for example, you can always go back to the comfort mode. Everything is relaxed then and so on. D shifting mode, you can go back to that as well. In the S shifting mode, by the way, just pull the shifting lever once. S shifting mode always gives you more RPM, shifts up later, shifts down earlier. So this is separated, you know. So you can pick comfort or sport mode that rather does like suspension and already does something to the transmission, but then even more stress on a different shifting level when you hit this shifting lever and pull it backwards. So let me just show that you do once again. Comfort mode to sport mode, or a little bit more RPM, and S mode, you hear it's already a gear lower from that. So you can really vary that, and of course also go to an individual mode, for example. It's also important then from the sound from the outside, because maybe sometimes you have situations where you think like, doesn't need to be that loud when you're close to the neighbors or something. Maybe other situations where you think like, hey, I don't care, make it as loud as possible. Heard that sound? That was here the sign for the stop sign. So an additional acoustic warning that you should come to a halt at the stop sign. Maybe good when you sometimes miss a stop sign or something. Yeah, and of course there's a really high fine for not like coming to a total standstill on the stop sign. If you are here in the comfort mode, by the way, don't hear so much from the engine, but of course at the same time you can always go for the pin through, and then you also have all the power you need. So this is always possible, and maybe also some situations where you get on an Autobahn and you need the sudden push. Talking about German Autobahn, motorway with even higher speed, Alright, sport mode, shifting mode, and German Autobahn from 120 kilometers an hour, so like 70 miles an hour. Let's go. Oh, that's 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. We can go even faster. Yeah, then the wind noise is picking up, but in general, I mean, how calm and silent this car is remaining. Wow, really impressive. Of course, you're not hitting the brakes, but they are also working very well. Good feeling also for the brakes, indeed. In general, I mean, like here at the normal motorway speed and non-German thinking, like 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, you hardly hear any wind noises at all. So it's really silent, and this is also the other side of this vehicle. Yes, you can go attack and so on, but when you go comfort mode and normal shifting mode, then it's as silent and comfortable, just like a normal X6 or X5. And for also in the SUV segment, comparing to the competition, it's very silent, calm and collected. You feel it is a very good premium product indeed, and X5 and X6 both are among my favorites in this large SUV segments because this compromise, you know, like you can go really relaxed, long way, long mileage, especially if you pick the comfort seats with the new Sensación. These seats you definitely also feel while driving. They are less comfortable because they're just stiffer. So either normal sport seat or the best choice then normal, the comfort seats with the new Sensación. That's the best combination for best comfort actually. Also I feel that these seats are a little bit lower, so the steering wheel is then a little bit off as for the height. So I drive these seats elevated a little bit, and I don't do that with the comfort seats actually. Yeah, but then with the press of a button or press of a throttle, it becomes almost a sports car, and it doesn't feel like it would be shaking up at all being an SUV. Here now 140 kilometers an hour, it's like 90 miles an hour. Changing the lane, changing back again, feels so good, calm and collected. Yeah, I mean this adaptive M suspension professional is definitely helping here too, to make it even sportier. Yeah, I was surprised that it doesn't feel too stiff, you know. Sometimes when I have the M Sports setups in the BMWs, it feels too stiff, but here in the X6, it's actually totally fine. Now at only like 170, 180 kilometers an hour, then the wind noises are picking up, but that's actually also fine, you know, so I can't expect more from that. Look at that, how calm and collected the car remains at this high speed. You hardly feel the speed at all. Really nice. Even at these speeds, of course, you can activate the assistance systems. The assisted driving in with the active lane keeping assist also works at that speed. Maybe it's not necessarily meant to do it for that, but yeah, also keeping the distance to the car in front of us, for example. And then here, once again, also accelerating again. Here in the slight bend, the lane is being kept. And let me also show you the automated lane change. Here we go, just tipping it, and then the vehicle does it on its own. Just didn't work at super high speeds, so they have a speed limit for that. That was with 140 kilometers an hour, still worked. Let's see, 160. Yeah, still doing it at 160 kilometers an hour, wow. That's impressive. So, of course, most fun is when you do it yourself and also using the turning indicator yourself, for example, really like putting it in, that is so much fun. So not tipping it, but really like bang, putting it back again, that's really cool. Has so much good haptic feeling for that. I like to do that here once again. Wow, what an Autobahn SUV we have here. And yeah, one thing you, by the way, feel the new mild hybrid system is, not on the Autobahn, but when you're driving really slowly, for example, and then there are some electric moments actually where the engine shuts off and you roll basically, like when you're parking in and out, there this mild hybrid system can play a role. Other than that, minimum consumption when you're not doing things like this, like 11 liters on 1 kilometers, 20 mpg US, 25 mpg UK. So it's like 5 mpg less or 2 liters more definitely in comparison to the 6 cylinders. So the 8-cylinder will consume more fuel, definitely. And of course, when you do more high-speed driving like this here, yeah, then it gets definitely worse. Here we're at the moment at 14 liters on 1 kilometer, so that these are figures less than 20 mpg, of course. So yeah, always depends on how you drive. Join us for a special review of the BMW X5 M competition in this case. And we will also tell you more about the BMW X6 M and talk about the competition package, what's in it and what's not. And also here the beautiful landscape around the Phoenix, Arizona area. You can already see something of that in the background. So, nice landscape, interesting car, everything of that with Thomas here on Autogefühl in exterior, interior and the sporty driving experience, as you know, in Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! In the front we can see here with the BMW X5 M or the M competition adds some more features and some more horsepower, soon more to that. Here the front grille, black, really wide, extremely large really with this vertical fin. Then lower intakes are also bigger. Mineral white is the main color here for today. Headlamps have the interesting LED daytime running light. They also come with LED from the base technology, then optional the adaptive LED, and then optional the laser light for an extensive high beam function. You can already see that with these blue accentuations. So a very impressive front. But I think, without exaggerating, it still looks somewhat elegant, but of course already pretty strong. 4.93 meters, 16'2" or 195 inches is the length of the X5. 18-inch wheels would be standard for an X5. The M model comes with 21-inch wheels, massive, and wow, what a great styling here. Looks really, really fancy. Blue brake calipers as a contrast. Then we also have more M contrast here. The black one that is closed, by the way. The side mirrors in a sporty aerodynamic way. This is also pretty cool. Tinted windows. The main design raises up here. So the X5 overall a very beautiful SUV, but rather classic styling. And I think here it also gives a good compromise between sporty and elegance on the visual part. And 22-inch wheels is an option for the rear. Then with 315mm tires. Wow, that's almost truck-alike. Brings even more traction to the ground. Yeah, but of course reduces the comfort even a little bit more. And we have the wheel arches paint in vehicle color, and technology-wise, it comes directly with the adaptive suspension in an M stiffer setup. Air suspension is not available for the M model, which you could usually get, also for the M50i, for example. And the rear axle steering is not available too. I really love to put these cars in front of so beautiful landscapes. Yeah, That's cool to watch, isn't it? I hope so. Then in the rear, we can see the modern tail lamps right there. It's also a big difference to the previous generation. This looks way more modern, also in the three-dimensional design. And then the X5 is, let's say, rather simple in the rear layout, but of course guarantees you more space on the inside if you compare it to the X6. Then a lower black contrast here, big diffuser, a huge X5 M competition badge, and of course, the exhaust here, this is the main part, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the sound, you already heard a little bit of that. What's your take on the design? For the X5 in general, you get 3-liter 6-cylinders, both diesel and petrol, and they actually score quite well for the normal daily use. Starting with the M50i, you get this 4.4-liter V8, the same as is here. Same base hardware, but here some hardware parts are also different for the true M models. Then of course a different tune. So again, 4.4-liter V8, 600 horsepower, or with the M competition, 625 horsepower. Acceleration figure is then 3.9 or 3.8 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. Yeah, that's of course pretty impressive. All-wheel drive as standard with a strong wheel-way bias. And of course here you can deactivate more of the assistance systems and also the stability control, all with these M modes to give even more purist punch. So now to the BMW X6 M, here also in the competition. In Germany, for example, the X6 is only available with the competition package. The X5 is also available without. And in US, you can pick with both. And the interesting thing is, so you pay, about 110k in US or 130k euros in Germany for an X5 M or X6 M. And if you want the competition package, you pay another 10 to 14 grand for that. And what do you get on the exterior? First of all, you have this shadow line here, so black frames around the double kidney. Otherwise, it would be a little bit brighter here. The front lower part is just a little bit different. Then you have these side fake out air takes that are also in black. If you want the special mirror caps in carbon fiber, that's even an option, even with the competition package. Yeah, so you pay a lot of extra just for this competition package. And then you get the sports exhaust in the rear that is also covered in all black. So overall on the exterior, if you have the competition package, it's even darker, brings more black to it. So overall looks a little bit more aggressive, both for X6M and X5M. And by the way, this very special color here is a BMW individual color. It's called ametrine. Well, the basic dimensions, X5 and X6, they are of course the same. The big difference is this falling roof line that looks definitely sportier. In this new generation, the X6 also with the horizontal tail lamps, it looks a little bit sleeker, more elegant than before. And it's really a design decision because, and of course practicability, because the X5 has a little bit more trunk space than in the height. We'll soon also compare it interior-wise. First the X5 again, and then we'll also take a look at the interior of the X6. So, exterior-wise, which one would you actually go for? Do you think in the M version, the X6 makes more sense? Or is it the other way around? Looking forward to your feedback. And how could it be different in driving? We'll soon find out more. But already now the information to you, whereas in the normal versions, the BMW X6 has a little stiffer suspension setup, the BMW X6 M and the BMW X5 M share the same suspension settings. Notable differences are that the chassis form of the X6 offers a little more torsional stiffness. The A-pillar is flatter, and the very same seat that is used in the BMW X6 is positioned 10 mm lower inside the vehicle. Will we notice a difference in the handling due to these facts? Let's find out very soon. This is the car key, and here with some M colors at the side. And you close it here when putting your finger on the top part, and then you open it again when you put your hand on the inside. Door closing sound. Yeah, that sounds quite solid, but I've heard it better before. Then inside of the doors, right here, with a tight wrapping, cool Hofmeister King design. Inside everything galvanized, good build quality, really stepped up there from the previous generation. Optional Bose and Wilkin sound system. Then you have reasonable door pockets on the inside. Here you also have this quilted structure. And then X5 M competition entry badge in the lower part with some special floor mats. We have the steering wheel, which has the sporty form and the M colors as well. You already see the special M buttons, soon more details about that. And then the seats, they come standard for the X5 M with the X6 M, the same. With this integrated head restraint style, I would say, you can put them down, then they look totally integrated, but you can also put them up electronically. It's right there, and they move up. That looks quite fancy with an integrated logo. This is also illuminated at night, for example. Then again, a quilted structure. You have some microfiber on the insides right here, but that's it. Everything else is animal skin. That's of course not sport. You slide on that. It gets hot in summer. You have a seat cooling available, but it's not needed. And so far, they have the philosophy: when people have a lot of money, they do not care about animals. But that's not true, So in future, they should definitely change that. So only option you have here. For normal X5, you also have the more friendly, animal-friendly Sensatec material, for example. Now let's get inside, and it's of course fairly easy. You have the upright SUV seating position. These sport seats, they have a little more shoulder support, but they're very stiff, and the structures on the seat make it also even stiffer. So the base sport seat you would get with the, for example, M50i, when you go a step down, is more comfortable. And that's the theme for this car. Both suspension and seating wise, you get more performance, you get more sportiness on the cost of comfort. That's again nothing you can say it's good or bad. You just have to decide if that's the right thing for you. I would always go for a little bit more comfort, or like a good, better compromise of comfort and sportiness. But here with the M model, they really said, less compromise, really in the sport direction in many, many ways. Well, of course, sport here would be a microfiber surface all over the seat and also for the steering wheel. But again, as for, long-term comfort versus the sportiness and stiffness and everything, suspension and so on, have to decide about that. Headroom here is still plentiful, 1.86 or 6'1", no problem. And we also have this panoramic roof. It doesn't really matter. I mean, you have a little more headroom than when you don't have it. But here, especially in the X5, it's no problem at all. In the X6, it can get a little bit closer. Here, for example, the X5 also has this more upright A-pillar. By the way, the inside is covered here with a microfiber. That's also very beautiful and quite cozy. Steering wheel, electronic control, like this, up and down, also in and out. That's definitely very good control. Interior overview, characterized here by this deco element in carbon fiber for the M model. The climate unit is still manual, so also good to control it while driving. I like it also with the manual volume knob. Then you have the sporty steering wheel with the M contrast stitching on the inside. Then you have the special M buttons, for example, for a extreme setting and a more extreme setting without stability control, but you can also individualize it in the menu if you like. Left side cruise control assistance systems, right side volume input. Oh, and heated steering wheel is also available for this one. You have 2x 12.3 inch for the screens. All comes digital all the way. Soon more details to that. The lower part, we have a 3-dimensional badge right here for the X5 M. Competition model in this case, then also carbon fiber, and when you slide it open you can put your smartphone there with inductive charging, and CarPlay also works in a wireless way. USB-A device charger and cup holders, adaptive and heated or cooled, both available. And then lower middle console with a nice shifting lever there in the M style, and it works like that you don't like put it back or forth. That's for the manual shifting, like with the shifting pedal to the steering wheel. You put it to the right side for driving, left neutral and left front for reverse. A little bit like shifting a manual, quite funny. And then there's this classic control knob, turning and pressing or writing something on it, but of course you can also use a touch or voice input. And then you have some more M mode buttons. For example, you can change the view in the digital instruments there, and you can activate or deactivate, in this case activate the exhaust note. And last but not least, you have the middle armrest, like this, slide open, USB-C charger, and some more space for all the clutter. Instruments, they come to life when you start up the car, and then you have a counterclockwise RPM right there, and yeah, sounds quite nice. And then you can see that there's space in the middle then, for example, for the assistance systems, when you have the speed on the left and the RPMs on the right. That's, exactly the reason why they do that. And other than that, you cannot adjust so many things. On the right side, then you can see how the sport gauges adjust, for example, when you are in the special M modes. Here again, when you go to this M mode, then how it changes, that's how it looks like then. So yeah, that's more minimalistic and more performance oriented. And here we have the head-up display, which is standard for the X5 M and the X6 M. So you can see the speed, the loud speed, and also when you have the GPS turned on and set a destination, even some next intersections, it's really helpful. And you can also adjust the height, by the way. Here we have the rear view camera, and it's pretty cool. This hairpin line follows you. Also with a drone view from above here, you have the backup assistance. So when you go front somewhere, see, oh, that doesn't fit, I want to go back this basement garage, back in, then you can let the car do that. Steering and everything is being done automatically. This is the gesture control. So yeah, this is really funny. And we can also hear something from this Bowers & Wilkins optional sound system. So it's a very nice sound, crystal clear and very crisp. There's also the Apple CarPlay integration. It's wirelessly done, and this time it also worked the very first time, so no problem as for that. The integration is really cool, goes all the way over the screen. And this is the M menu where you can change all the different stuff like engine, chassis, steering, and the brakes, and also the X-Drive, the all-wheel drive. When you have DC off, then you have even more rear-wheel bias, for example. It is always already a rear-wheel biased all-wheel drive, of course. And then these things are also then changing depending on what you're doing with the buttons right there. And you can really fully individualize it. But you have to take your time a little bit for that. And always among my favorite features, the BMW wings as the lights in the top ceiling. Well, a good perspective here for the panoramic roof, especially cool for the rear passengers. You open this shade, I mean, it goes really all over the vehicle. It has also been increased here if you compare it to the other generation, and goes like, I think every dimension is like the whole roof is covered by that. And then when you open it, it's looking like this. And yeah, the closer it comes for a big SUV convertible, I would say, so leaves a lot of nice air in. Question is, if you having like really high temperatures here in the summer in Arizona, you might want to have a fixed roof still, but at least you can close this shade again if you like. Now getting in the rear, and you have enough legroom, that's no problem. So, considering it's such a long car, there's not much legroom. Is okay, also for 4 tall adults, but that's, for example, where the Mercedes GLE is better as for the legroom. Then again, the seating comfort here in the rear I found better than in the GLE, because here the bench is more upright, and that's also difference X5 and X6. The X6, you sit lower and also lean more backward. Here you sit more upright as for the bench. And headroom wise, this is also still okay, although again this panoramic roof is mounted right here. Then ISOFIX at the outside parts. You can flip the seats from here if you like already, and in the middle part there's also an additional climate unit available for the rear seat, and even with seat heating, but again that's even an option right here. So the overall price for this car, as it stands now, about 160k. 645 until 1,860 liters boot capacity. So let's see about that. You have this foot kick opening mechanism that opens the top hatch, split one here, and then you open this second one right there. And it's really cool for picnic purposes when you sit down here. It's really a nice laser effect. Have to be aware of 2 things. First of all, when you put beverages here and someone is standing up and then being really close with your leg next to the trunk, it could theoretically happen that you push the button then with your leg. But, you know, that was be one thing. Second problem could be when you're sitting here, like, you know, watching something, then, you know, moving your legs like this a little bit and a little bit too far, then you can get actually in the area here of this foot kick opening or closing mechanism. And the thing is, yeah, then everything closes on you. So have to be aware of that. It's a really cool function with the split hatch, but, you know, maybe all that then without the foot kick opening or closing mechanism. And I think they should, you know, somehow a little bit better secure this lower button here also, or maybe that you can put in a lock or something that you can even enjoy your picnic situations a little bit more in, let's say, more calmness. Overall, good dimensions here. This is the base setup. Then you can also flip the seats here on the left side, and it's a very nice mechanism. Other than that, we can also put some luggage inside that you can see like this, or then even upright still fits under this cover, which is manual, and there's open left and right, not a rear rail, because there's always this 7-seater option for the X5 as well. But I think for the X5 it doesn't make too much sense, rather makes sense only for the X7, I think. So, and then just have something still on the rear seat which I want to remove, because then we can go for the full setup right there. Here we go. And I mean, considering it's a 625 horsepower car, still very breathable, usable in the trunk. And last but not least, here in the lower part, even here with hydraulic struts with some more space, or then replacement tire could also be a solution. And now to the X6 M interior. So the difference is the A-pillar is flatter, so you have a little bit less space there. Other than that, we have a bright interior in this case, but that you can also go for the X5 M. I think bright, of course, a little bit more beautiful, brings more light, and also some of the material is a little bit softer somehow than the other seat we've shown to you. The form is, you know, not really different, but the surface somehow, so this was a little bit more comfortable. Not sure what's the reason for that, but in general, X5 and X6 M, or also the non-M models, they have the same seating form, so they do not really differ in comfort. And then it just depends like on the very seat you pick, you know, as for the, you know, the whole trim and stuff. Again here, because the A-pillar is a little bit flatter, it's you know, a little bit more cramped in the feeling, but of course it's still big, so it's more upright than here in the X5. So the X5 feels a little bit more roomish in the front, but still, you know, you still have enough headroom. There is also the panoramic roof built in here that is also available for the X6, so it doesn't make too much of a difference. The X5 more conveys a travel feeling, whereas the X6 more conveys a sporty feeling, because everything is a little bit then more condensed here. But again, not too big of a difference in the front. Everything else you see here is basically the same. And what about the competition package? In the competition package for this 10 to 14K extra, you get these entry badges here, the special competition entry badges. That's a part of it. And then this 3-dimensional logo in the middle console we've shown to you earlier. And also this very beautiful Alcantara headlining. That is also something that's part of the competition package. And yeah, even more animal skin in the interior. That is even more a part of this competition package. By the way, you might ask yourself, so where are even more options like for 20K or something? For example, sound system or soft close. So that's another option you can add to the car or not. Then the rear, this is of course the biggest difference in X5 and X6. You see everything is a little bit more cramped in here. The legroom does not differ because it's of course the same wheelbase, but in order that you still have enough headroom, and that's actually quite okay. Again, 1m86 or 6'1", so the inside bolstering of the ceiling is a little bit slimmer in comparison to the X5 here, so you gain some headroom then again. And you might also see my seating position. The seat bench is lower and it's also falling backwards a little bit. That again ensures the headroom. And yeah, it's a little bit less comfortable than sit on in the X5. You sit higher, more upright, have also more traveling feeling. towards the front and so on, so even especially better for kids. Still, it's reasonably comfortable here, again with this very reduced legroom overall, considering it's such a big car. It will fit for tall adults, no problem. But the X5 overall, a little bit more comfortable, but then again, yeah, it really rather depends on styling, design and so on, because you can live with these compromises they've done here with the X6. Well, of course, the trunk is a big difference. Not exactly the height below the cover, that's the same, but just, you know, when you put it up, when you put this cover up, folds like this, then this height, when you want to transport really high things, or maybe want to put a mountain bike in with the, you know, with the handlebars in a transverse way or something, then you're a little bit limited. But still, it's a good opening. You see here, there's some luggage inside, so you can also live with this compromise for most luggage purposes. Yeah, maybe this flap is a little bit strange, but then again, the X5 had this wobbling cover there because there's the background of the 7-seat option. So yeah, I mean, again, it's more about the styling. You can also have a good versatility here still in the X6. Some hate these SUV coupes, some love them. What about you? And last but not least, for the trunk part today, what about the child safety test? Well done. We're starting with the agile launch control with the X6 M. We're switching vehicles back and forth today a little bit, and thing is, you have to go to a special sport mode here, but then you also have to go, in this case it's already right there, in this third shifting super sports mode, and then you also have to deactivate the ESC completely with holding the button. That's a little bit different than in the M performance models, where it works with the ESC Sport. Here in the true M models, it only works then with ESC completely off. So they made the difference right there. And again, only do that when you really experience closed circuit and so on and so on. And, you know, just always safety first. But sometimes you might need to accelerate very fast, and maybe then it's helping with safety, isn't it? Plop, and that was already a little bit exceeded 0 to 65 miles, well almost 70, but 65 miles is here the speed limit, so I stick with 65 here, and that went really quick. And earlier I did some X5 acceleration. You also see it later on in the driving part without the launch control. And the thing is, even if you don't use the launch control, you can like rev it up until like 4,000 RPM or something. So you, even without the special launch control, you have a very great drive. But here with the launch control, of course, everything is optimized, and there's a little bit better punch even. You also feel that, you know, G-force is a little bit more increased. Maybe we have to compare it in the G-force meter. Of course, I didn't concentrate on that one, but that will be a very interesting one. So that was the first start to our agile driving part today. So, what about some acceleration? Well, that was already at 80 miles. Quite impressive, man, right? And you might wonder, why are we allowed to do that? Actually, we have this one lane, you know, kind of surveyed by the police, so we have the, you know, official confirmation to do that. Otherwise we would not be allowed to do that here. So they thought, you know, the police, the Germans are in town, let's make that road all free. So otherwise it would be 35 miles per hour. Again, I would always obey the speed limit. If not, the police told us that we're allowed to do it here in this case because they watch the road for us. And so we can also speed it up a little bit more. And this is really, wow. I mean, I'm already in this sport mode, especially here, and you heard from sound, and the steering is really crisp. You see very precise commands I can put on there. Of course, I don't exceed too much of the speed because I also have to check out to the other lane. wow, I mean, suspension-wise, that's so stiff. In this case, it does me a favor because I can get absolute great command of the whole vehicle. To watch this hill, wow. The anti-roll control works perfectly. You see, it's a big SUV, but here I have no roll whatsoever. Look at how little I have to do with the steering and still have so good control and input of that. Hard on the brakes. Yeah, it's also really cool with the altitude changes here, so you can really test that very well, what's going on. And again, I mean, there's really no roll from this car whatsoever, so the stiff M suspension together with the anti-roll control, it's really fantastic here. Of course, you will lose some comfort in everyday driving life, but since we have the Sporty Funny at the moment, that's really impressive. The all-wheel drive, you've also seen that in the acceleration. The all-wheel drive evens out everything very well. So, you don't have this, one axle concentrated acceleration. It's really distributed very well. Although normally there's a rear wheel bias, so most of the stuff is sent to the rear wheels. And then of course there's more to the front, the more you hammer the throttle. And that's also good for a better acceleration actually. So there's the sheriff here in front of us, controlling the road. There's also another car in front of us, so we have to adapt to the speed there. Not sure what he's going to do. Maybe we'll overtake that one. I don't know exactly. But it's actually cool to have like a police escort to be able to drive fast, right? That's something, I didn't have that yet. So, I mean, why not, So, shout out to all the sheriffs and policemen out there. Thank you so much for your service. And yeah, why don't we drive around together, right? So any police that wants to invite us to come over and drive some nice fast and edda rounds, we're always here for you. And the cool thing is really, we can do some slalom-like stuff here. Look at that. Again, no rolling whatsoever, very precise steering commands. And shifting through the modes, it's actually also a lot of fun. You can be like this, very calm. You can even deactivate the exhaust mode, and then you're actually pretty calm overall. And at the moment here, for example, I can go to M1 or M2, then they have the different sport modes. Here, for example, here, just a little stiffer from the suspension, so it's even stiffer than it normally is stiff. And a little bit more throttle input. On the M2 is even more limited chassis stabilization, so I can throw the car in the corners a little bit more. You maybe also saw that when I'm, went a little bit to altitude and so on over the hill. That got me a little bit more loose, so to say, but still perfect control over this car. And even more throttle input. Steering is a little bit crisper, for example. Also sport, I have a little bit more resistance in the steering then, for example. And overall, that's, it's really a lot of fun. It doesn't feel at all, like driving an SUV or something. I can also drop us behind. And then what you can also do, even if you're in a normal mode, you can always go to this shifting difference here at the shifting lever. This is normal then. And when I'm going a little bit further up, and even further, you maybe also hear that, then the car automatically goes in gear down and shifts differently. So keeps it rather in low gears, puts it to the higher RPMs and so on. And this M dynamic mode with traction reduction and so on, you should only use it actually like closed circuits, racetrack, and so on. And it's as soon as you hammer the throttle here, everything is coming to life. However, it always depends also in which mode you are and also which gear you have put in. So if you want it even more spontaneous, you can always use the shifting pedals, go back. We can also go to this M mode to see everything here in this M scheme. That's also a lot of fun, definitely. Third gear, or go back to second. Now they're using shifting pedals. Wow. That's really some tough stuff, I can tell you guys. So, and we can also, let us drop behind again, so we can hammer it once more. Here, by the way, when you hold the shifting pedal, then it goes back to this automatic mode. Here we go. Let's see if I can have like another straight to accelerate where I can also see what's going on. So here, for example, and I can just stop again and see. That's 100 miles. Wow, that's really ridiculous. And again, I would not do that, never ever on public roads when the police wouldn't be in front of us. So really cool that we have the chance to do that here today. And I mean, it's so easy to get to speed with this vehicle. Everything feels so effortless indeed. And they really put a true sports car here on this high SUV platform. So also when I think about the Audi RSQ8, we had also like really good acceleration there. That was pretty amazing. But I felt that they did have a better compromise of sportiness and comfort. Here really everything is shifted towards the sportiness. So the more sporty and comfort compromise would definitely be the M50i. This one here really goes all the way in the sports direction. And here, look at that. I mean, we're at 80 miles per hour. And how stable the car is remaining, even at these high speeds. That's really amazing. And again, usually we have everything set to kilometers per hour. Remember, we are looking at miles per hour at the moment, 80 miles per hour. Usually 50 would be the speed limit here, which is, I mean, somewhat also suitable, definitely. Also, you're still good as for noise insulation, but I feel the model is louder than a little bit louder than the base models. Also when some stones are on the ground and so on, but I'm not sure. Maybe that's also just road surface alike. Cannot really prove that would be like a massive difference or something. But it's really astonishing that they could put even more agility into this car if you compare it to the previous generation. And I mean, already the M50i, which we've been driving in the X6, that was already pretty amazing. Oh, now the police is getting to some speed. I guess this sheriff is also having a lot of fun today. Yeah, I never would have imagined that I drive through Arizona roads with double of the allowed current speed. So again, please do not repeat, do not do this. Again, unless you are officially allowed by the police. So Thomas 007 with the license to speed nowadays. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's really a lot of fun. I really always need it. Also, yeah, when I'm doing reviews, always need a police escort now. Wow. So really cool driving experience, and I think GLE 53 or then soon 63 and this one here, they come quite close, I think. So AMG and BMW M really decided on going the very sporty way, whereas Audi more tried to focus on the sportiness comfort combination, and that's what AMG then rather does with the light AMG models, or BMW M with the M Performance models. M Performance are the light models there in this case. By the way, on the brakes, this is also really good. Great spontaneous acceleration, deceleration, and of course also acceleration again. Yeah, and I mean that sound, you can always turn it off, but of course sound is one of the big differences here. Although you know that nowadays vehicles are so well insulated that sometimes you hardly hear the sound from the exterior. So even in great performance vehicles, there are sound actuators that actually help you understand the sound overall. Yeah. But that's almost like a German Autobahn episode here. And that's in the state of Arizona. So, we always have something new for you guys here. Hope you all enjoy also, our speedy part here for today. Really cool to be able to do that. And I mean, there's so many different modes and adjustments you could actually do. You can spend hours and hours changing everything back and forth. So just as you like it. But again, be careful. You've maybe seen also already the M50i, when you have some slippery road surface because of the rear wheel bias, the car can actually slide out. Still, all-wheel drive and rear wheel bias, it can slide out in the rear. Not exactly here because it's dry tarmac and there's really like a lot of grip, especially from this 350mm tires. So there has to happen a lot that they lose traction actually. But when the road is wet, that can happen quite easily overall. So really sporty, quite loud, a rather extreme ride for an SUV. Definitely on the course of comfort, both with seating, suspension and wheel size. Definitely you feel a lot of what's going on the road due to these massive big wheels. It's always some kind of trade-off. The question is then what you want. Then let's also keep it a little bit calmer and public road, and according to the regulations we go a little bit more to the motorway and look to assistance systems. So what about some motorway driving? Because, most of the time, that's probably what you will do in this high-performance SUV. And we're here at 65 miles per hour, so that's like 110 kilometers an hour or something like that, and in the motorway. And the X5 and the X6, so both, they have a great noise insulation in general, and that's also accounting here for the M models, so no change as for that. So it stays relatively calm inside here, and when you just do cruise control and motorway, of course there's not much sound from the exhaust, so you can still relax somewhat. Yes, the base seats or even the normal sport seats are a little bit more comfortable than these here. Told you earlier, a little bit more support, but they're not necessarily more comfortable. People throwing out some garbage out of the window, I really hate that. So there are these videos where like this motorcycle guy, he collects like the cigarettes people throw out, and then knocks on the window and then puts all of the garbage back to the car. That's a great action. So well deserved then. Yeah, back to the motorway driving here. Blind spot monitor in the side mirrors. That's really cool and very helpful, of course. And always nice to look at this aerodynamic form of the side mirrors. That's definitely very fancy. The X5 also has a good view to the rear because of to the side, because of the upright building form, and you have this great travel windscreen in the front. That's really cool. So yes, even if you have the M model, you can enjoy these comfort features of the car. And of course also the rest of the assistance systems. We have the cruise control, can switch it from distance control to assisted driving. That's an optional package then. Assisted driving is then that I actively keep it in the lane from the car. So here, you see the car does that itself. Always keep your hands at the steering wheel. That's how it's meant to be at the moment. Still at least. And it's a rather smooth process. So what they've done here with BMW is that they integrated it in a way that it's not, let's say, obstructive. Here in the M model you can also switch that all off, yes, but most of the time you will still enjoy the assistant driving features here too. It's just a little bit more relaxed, and of course the distance to the car in front of you is being kept. And also this lane run-off protection is done with steering intervention, not with brake intervention. That's also keeping it rather smooth. So actually still quite enjoyable motorway ride here. You might ask yourself, what about suspension and what about the wheels as for the comfort? Well, yes, that's the thing. So suspension-wise, with adaptive suspension, it's a great adaptive suspension, one where you usually do not miss the air suspension. However, it's a little bit stiffer set out here, but still everyday driving life suitable. Yes, a little bit stiffer than you might want to have it, maybe, for stuff like this, but still okay. But the real comfort loss rather comes with the wheels. So because it comes standard with 20-inch wheels, and also in this case here with the option 22-inch wheels on the rear. And just when you're running, over the wide lines or something, or there are like those small humps here that signalize you're leaving or crossing the road just for safety, you really feel them in a quite harsh way. So that's the difference then. So indeed that would be better. 21 inch it is for this car. That's it, but probably I would not go for the 22 inch in the rear then. You know, when I'm going over, it's like, maybe you also pick that up on the camera, just noise-wise. Like pop, pop, pop. Yeah, I mean, that would be more comfortable than with smaller wheels. Also, if you think about comparison to the M50i, that was a little bit more comfortable, although we also had the optional wheels mounted there. But I think overall, if you would have it like with 20 inch or 19 inch, that would be way better. So, yeah, the bigger wheels, of course, because I mean, in the rear they're now 315 millimeter tires. That's like it's massive. So that's of course better for the traction and of like for acceleration, so on. But it's not really necessary, you know. So yeah, always comes with a pro and a con. But that's why we are here. But overall, still enjoyable, especially when the road is even. You can still have some decent motorway comfort. And again, I think it's also a good decision to put the assistance systems here in this performance car. Well, that's the comparing driving part here with the X6. Just cancel that one here. And let's also go to some funnier gauges, here again with the sport displays. So you have so many options to control this car. Once again, it can be really, oh, there's an X7, really complicated. Also, like with this M mode, because this M mode here is more about the driving assistance systems. And then again, the shifting mode here, on the shifting lever, shifting pedals, then the M modes which you can individualize and configure. So yeah, you have to get used to that. And also then, like, you know, to find your best setting. Most of the time, of course, you will just do DSC on and you know, cruise in a very normal way. However, what about the difference now, X6 M and the X5 M, because now we are in the X6 M. Well, overall, they are basically the same vehicles, yes, but you do feel some more sportiness with the X6. We also feel it in the base version, so you feel a little bit more connected to the car, so like slight changes. I do miss somehow the rear axle steering, which I had in the M50i, so that is somehow missing here, I think, because it makes a little bit more special driving experience. But of course here the sound and acceleration is special, and you can just shift down the gear and then you're just right there. You can always fine-tune that how you want to have it. And again, I think there are some slight nuances, X5M, X6M, so if you are seeking for this more agile feeling and a little bit more sporty, emotional approach, then you actually right here with the X6, and if you like the visual part, and with the X5 more travel suitable as for the rear hatch and so on, a little bit more space. However, the power is also there, definitely. So I would say I also felt that when I was comparing the other version, the X6 is a little bit more fun, and the X5 is a little bit cooler when you are traveling then and have just some, you know, some more flexibility, you know. So that's the basic difference. So cool again, especially with the, you know, very even road here now, and also pretty scenic again for you. So when the road is very well done, then the suspension is superb, you know. Then there's no problem with, you know, less comfort or something, and it really feels perfect. Just again with suspension and the big wheels, when the road is bumpy, then you do have some comfort issues definitely with the true M versions here, and even more so than with the competition, because you have the 22-inch wheels in the rear. But again, I'm really having a lot of fun driving here in the X6, and I mean, driving now at about 45 miles per hour, which is allowed here. This feels like so underwhelming and so slow for the car overall. This is really, yeah, really very astonishingly. Also today I tested a little bit more on the motorway at higher speeds, and the thing is there, when you are in this assisted driving mode, If you want to change the lanes, that works perfectly. First of all, again, the car is being kept in the lane, and then again, when you hit the turning indicator, just like this here, then the lane change is being done automatically. You just should keep your hands on the steering wheel, and then the car switches over. So that comes really quite handy, and is very relaxing here, especially on US longer motorway rides, which are somehow, not that exciting, going very long in a straight way for a very long time. So, and then these assistance systems are really, really cool. And now getting up here, just so I can accelerate once more out there. When you are in these sportier modes, by the way, here confirm, then dynamic mode, there's more happening with the EC, for example. Again, should be not used for public roads, and especially not when it's wet. When it's dry now, of course, I have a lot of grip, but even here now, the car gets a little bit looser in the rear, so when I accelerate it out, maybe heard that here. This was also in manual shifting mode, so that was also approved. When you are in this absolute manual shifting mode, then it also sticks in the gear and does not shift up, and then you have to use the shifting pedals yourself. Just kept it in a first gear that I really had, some spin in the rear. You see, you can do almost everything with this vehicle. You just have to adjust it then to your needs, and pretty interesting rev limiter here as well. Then you can always use, for example, here to go back to the D mode, or put it to the right to go back to the manual shifting mode again. So you can adjust it, as you like. And it's always fun just to, drop yourself back a little bit, reduce the speed, and then once more floor it out a little bit. And with the V8, it doesn't have to be like the high revving sounds all the time, like I did now. It's also just fun to keep it really low revving, and then enjoying this rather sonorous sound, So again, X6 a little bit sportier even in this M version, and you somehow feel a little bit more connected to the car and the road. Then again, the question is, which focus you are really paying attention to and which one you find more beautiful. And now to our conclusion for today with the new BMW X5 M and the sibling, the BMW X6 M, as the SUV coupe version. Well, aggressive styling, yes, but it still works. Wheel-wise, of course, you can decide how big you want to have that, especially if you have this optional 22-inch on the rear. But I think, it's still not overly aggressive. On the interior, massive upgrade as for the interior build quality if you compare it to the previous generation. However, only animal skin available here for the seating surface, and it's of course not a sporty seating surface, so they should definitely do something else right there. But the build quality on the interior is really superb, nice natural voice input and so on. Legroom is not the most plentiful you have there in this vehicle, but overall the comfort is still good on the rear bench. Yeah, comfort is also reduced when seating there on these very stiff sport seats, and that's the overall scheme of this car. You have less comfort, definitely. Also suspension-wise, it's even stiffer, and with this big wheel size too. So you feel a lot what is going on the road. Maybe you do want that as a true M customer. Then again, most of the time you will not race this car in everyday driving life. You will also use it on motorway, cruising and so on. And I think the comfort reduction is a little bit too much in this case. But maybe that's exactly what you want. And that would also be a difference, for example, to the Audi RSQ8. This one really goes in a rather, compromise-less sporty direction, whereas the Audi RSQ8 is, also very powerful. They both have like a very extended power source, definitely. But still, I found that the Audi, for example, was a little bit more comfortable. The GLE in this generation, we've been driving as the 53 so far. That was also a little bit better compromised. But the AMG also, relatively stiff. Soon also with the 63 driving review as for that. So stay tuned for that. Overall, I would rather go back to the M50i. That was still a better compromise between sportiness and comfort, and it was already very impressive in the driving. Here, of course, the big difference is you have this overwhelming sound experience, and you know, it is so crisp to drive, although it is a big SUV. So that was really, really impressive. So hardly ever do we see such sporty performance from such a big car, and that is, of course, something that's still, giving you a lot of emotions. High fuel consumption, of course. As I said earlier, minimum of 12 liters 100 kilometers or 20 mpg, but that's the absolute minimum. It will be way exceeded, I can tell you that, or like lower, of course, from the mpg figures. So if you go for a 6-cylinder, for example, like the 40i, you can score some very decent fuel economy figures also with the X5 or the X6. So I would take it for today. I mean, it's definitely a very emotional car. Very expensive. You think like almost triple the price in the base X5 or X7, X5 or X6, sorry. So we have to really think about if that's worth it to you. To me, it's more like, they are showing off what they can do, also driving performance-wise. That's very impressive. But for most everyday driving customers, a 40i will be a very decent choice. And if you want a little bit sportier, the M50i. Or recently now for the X5, the PHEV model is also quite interesting. Here then, when you really want the very sportiest experience together with the sound and the super stiff ride indeed. What you see here in the front, that there is the new Tesla factory, Berlin Giga, Berlin Brandenburg, Grünheide. So, and we are here with the BMW Performance SUV. This is nuts. And actually what we can also show you on this parking lot is actually here. Look at that. Is this year the best electric performance SUV, the BMW iX M60, here on Autogefühl with Thomas. Let's go! And by the way, we'll also have Brian later on with his take on this vehicle. Here, oxide grey is this interesting color, and the M60 doesn't look too different from the normal iX version, but it has these Titan bronze accentuations in that front double kidney or mono kidney. Yeah, I always have to shave also here in the middle that I don't get the monobrow, so maybe the iX should do that as well, right? And here the headlamps, LED of course standard, optional you can get the laser lights and then the very slim daytime running light right here. The length at 4 meters 95 or 195 inches, so full-size SUV. Usually it would start with 20-inch wheels, the M60 version starts 21-inch wheels, and here the optional biggest one, 22-inch wheels, really massive, and once again the Titan bronze accentuations. In the M60 also the special badge, black contrast in the lower part, so it automatically gets the M Sport package you can also get for the normal iX, and then once again Titan bronze also here. You can, however, if you don't like that, also go for the shadow line, and then everything that would be in Titan bronze here would be just plain black for a more sinister look. Interesting that the air suspension is standard for all the iX models, and this one, the M60, also gets the rear axle steering as standard as well. And the air suspension is a little bit stiffer here for a sportier tone. And a new feature is that the rear electric motor, so it's one in the front, one in the rear, and the rear electric motor is a little bit different, even hardware-wise, tuned to that performance of 1,100 Newton meters of torque and 619 horsepower. And whereas the normal iX all-wheel drive model goes 4.6 seconds in the acceleration, 100 kilometers or 60 miles an hour, this one here goes 3.8. 0.2 of that is done via the new launch control, which also has a hardware shaking function to make it even more exciting. We will experience that for you. Here the rear, the lamps really, really slim, and once again the Titan bronze accentuations, and also a very clean design in the lower part with some, diffuser styling. And we also have more color choices for you. This one here is Aventurine Red. Of course, the Titan bronze accentuations are a little bit more present than in this case. What about the range? We already had a lot of experience with the iX, with the normal all-wheel drive model. This one might have a little bit less of that range because of more performance. However, roundabout 400 kilometers or 250 miles in wintertime, and you can score some 550 kilometers or 350 miles in summertime. And one of my favorite colors for the iX is here the Storm Bay Metallic, really beautiful color, and the Titan bronze accentuations in the M60 look even cooler in this case than as a contrast, I think. What about the top speed? The xDrive 50 is limited to 200 kilometers an hour or 125 miles an hour. Here, the M60 unlocked to 250 kilometers an hour or 155 miles an hour. And about recharging, 11 kilowatt AC or 195 kilowatt DC charging peak right here. Also nice covers here. That is well done. That's how you do it. And well, about the state of charge, 10 to 80%. Well, that can be done in 35 minutes in optimum case. But you have to speed it up on the motorway that the battery is warm enough. It's preheated. There's also preheating function. It is when you put a charging station in the GPS, but that then can take about up to 30 minutes that the battery is at temperature while driving. So most use cases will be you ham it on the motorway, then the battery is warm enough, and then you can go for some proper fast charging. In the other test, we also did a concise charging test, so you can check out the other video of that one later as well. And one of the favorite features, look at that. The camera cleaning function, really spectacular, isn't it? But static here now, yeah, look at that. What a mess. But look at that in the rear. It's actually even more spectacular. And yeah, once again, you should only do that when the car is already dirty overall.
Thomas asked me to step out from behind the camera just to tell you a couple of things I really like and maybe a couple of things I don't like quite so much about this car. So we have to start at the front and talk about this. Well, according to BMW, they need this much real estate to cram in all of the sensors and, what I don't think the camera can quite pick up, these heating elements here and here, which make sure that the car functions properly in colder temperatures. Well, you know what, guys? No other manufacturer seems to need quite this much room, and to my way of looking at it, it kind of looks a little bit like an afterthought, something that they put onto the front of the car while they were waiting to figure out what they were going to do, but didn't quite get round to. But that's just my personal taste, and it wouldn't stop me from appreciating the rest of the design. As you come round to the side and the rear of the car, everything really works for me an awful lot better.
To open the vehicle, either use the key fob, which has these special colors here for the M60, or use the smartphone with the app. That's both possible, but I'm clearly Team key fob. What about you? And I'm definitely also Team Titan Bronze. This is special and looks cool because the shadow line then with the black accentuations you can get for so many different vehicles. So are you Team Shadow Line or Team Titan Bronze? Tell me in the comments. Door closing sound, frameless doors, yeah, and that's also the reason it sounds really weird when closing it. However, we have cool interior materials. This is all animal-free sensor tech right here, and it's really soft and feels great. So everyone that is telling us, you can't make animal-free, great, high-class interior, it's not true. You can do it. BMW shows it right here. Interesting, by the way, that these crystalline applications right here, these are optional. And you can also get them rather plain. And I would also take the base, the plain option for that, because these here, they look cool, but they do have some blinding effect in sunlight. Seating choice today, we have the beige sensor tech. It looks great and it feels great and also has the perforation for a better climate comfort, so especially in summertime. I would actually go for these here indeed. They're also available in black or in brown, that's possible. And then you also have a fabric microfiber wool share mix available and 2 animal skin options, sadly still. But these here are definitely way to go. Seating position, high, upright, command driving position here in the SUV. And with 1.89 meters or 6'2". Yes, if you haven't heard, I have grown a little bit, obviously. Here, still some headroom left, although this is also the one with the panoramic roof. However, well, it's a fixed one in this case, so it does not cost you headroom. This is the thing then with the fixed glass roofs. They don't cost you headroom, but then you also can't open them. Steering wheel up and down, electronic way, and also in and out. And these seats are really very comfortable indeed. Interior overview, really clean, soft touch leatherette sensor tech dashboard. It's really cool. And you have this floating display, a little bit curved. 14.9 inch on the right, 12.3 inch on the left. This is standard. The steering wheel has this strange form. It looks cool, but is it better to handle? Definitely no. I would just prefer a normal form of that one. But here, once again, the cool like these golden accentuations, and still a mix of, some real buttons at least. The middle console is also worth taking a look at, and soon more to the screens. In the digital instruments, you now have special iconic sound design here. Ooh, it's more bass intensive. I think it sounds way better than normal iconic sound startup. Yeah, awesome, stronger. And then you have here on the left side speed, right side is also this, this is e-power meter, but you can also change the views a little bit. For example, here you have the layout and change the whole layout with that. Yeah, I mean, you basically once set your favorite thing and that's kind of it. And you can also have this map integration. And look at that, if you have CarPlay and the Maps app, then it can also be displayed here in the digital instruments. That's a helpful feature. However, it does only work with the Apple Maps app, not with Google Maps, at least on the Apple. And here we can see it in Android Auto. It does work with Google Maps here on the instruments. So that's the difference. Interesting. Why is that so? Infotainment, BMW OS 8, and everything looks cool, but I think still it's harder to use than OS 7. It has more functions, but also it's more complicated than. Here the climate unit is integrated right here. They want you to use like the voice control and then change it. That's possible. Set temperature to 23 degrees.
I will set the temperature.
Yeah, there we go. So that works, but I just prefer to use manual knobs for that. At least it always stays in this position. On the left side you have these hot keys. That's okay. Therefore you can also, for example, hop to the GPS map. But then here, there's like an overflow, so many different things you can actually do here. Android Auto, Apple CarPlay is standard actually, if they can supply that at this moment. You maybe heard that with newer software versions, they're waiting on an upgrade for that. But here with this vehicle, no problem. Integration really big. Here we have these 13 speakers, 4D Bowers & Wilkins sound system, and it's indeed a great sound, really lovely. However, I think the Harman Kardon system more fits to BMW from the sound experience, and it's also less expensive. At the same time, also delivers a great sound. So overall, yes, it does the job. You see, it's also very responsive. It's fast enough. Here, let's take a look at the car internal GPS. Here it takes some time to load. This is the new airport here close to Berlin. So overall, I'm okay with the software, but I still prefer the old school BMW OS 7. Is it just me? Tell me in the comments. And here we can see these augmented reality arrows. When we have a route set, then the camera image is there from the rear or front view, in this case front view camera. Then we have these arrows here guiding us alongside, and this is a very helpful feature indeed. Then it switches back to the normal GPS. Look at the lower right part there. This says adaptive driving mode. So when there's no car in front of me, by the way, the flashing light is from the IR light. Here, I'm just rolling when there's no car in front of me when I lift my foot off the throttle. However, now I'm getting closer towards the vehicle, and when I now lift my foot off the throttle, the car does do recuperation. That's the adaptive recuperation driving mode. That's really cool. I recommend the setting. However, we can also do the B mode. That's the B mode then, and in the B mode, when I lift my foot off the throttle, then it does immediate recuperation. That is then a one-pedal driving. So you can do one-pedal driving if you like, but I would recommend the adaptive recuperation. It's the best of both worlds. And we have the head-up display is a nice option, and here you can see when you have the GPS set, then it also shows these complex map images when you're about to cross an intersection. Here, this middle console floating, we have a nice wooden element. This combination is only possible done with the crystalline stuff here. And once again, it looks cool, but it does have some glaring effects, so I would rather keep the base version. This is the shifting lever, backwards then for the drive mode, or B, the stronger recuperation mode. But they also have adaptive recuperation then, which is a good choice, more when driving. You can put smartphone right here, for example, that's possible. But actually, for charging, you put it underneath. And here underneath you have the inductive charging pad, and when you lift it up you can see these are small holes that suck away the air so that the smartphone does not overheat. And in front of the cup holders you can see there's like this open area in the front. That's nice. Both Brian and me really like that. It creates a nice open atmosphere in the vehicle. Nice soft armrest, split opening, and actually decent decent space underneath. Well, it does have space and speed indeed. And I really do appreciate that we still have a manual button for the glove box. This is our allowance here to park at the airport. But here, this is really cool because, I mean, it looks standard, but some new EVs, they just have it in the, in the display. I really want to open it in an easy way. What about you? In the rear area, it's also fairly comfortable and also a lot of legroom left. They're really using that EV platform. Headroom, yeah, I mean, there's plenty of headroom. And here you can also look through that panoramic roof, which has this electrochromatic function if you go for that one. It's, of course, always a spectacular effect to close it off or open it, so to speak, in this way. Yeah, you can move around freely here. Also in the middle part, you can easily house 5 tall adults here. Here's a little bit stiffer on that one, but, some like it a little bit stiffer. Yeah, and then let's move down this one here. And here we have cup holders which fold out like this in the front, and everything once again also in the rear from this Sensación material, really great quality. In the middle part we have a console here, and there we still have manual climate unit. Maybe I want to be a rear passenger here today. 500 liters up to 1,750 liters, great folding mechanism. The normal length is 1 meter or 40 inches, and the same goes for the width, very well usable. And when I take out the backpack here in the very front, you have storage for your charging cable. And here, look at that. Clicking sound here when you close it. These are beautiful details indeed. And the absolute length here for the trunk to the seats as we would be driving, this is enormous. So, yeah, I know. And then 1 meter 90 and 74 inches. And here I can easily stand underneath it. So it's, yeah, pretty large opening. It's cool. And you can see here the hazard lights when you have that hatch opened. There's like the replacement hazard lights. Really interesting. But let's take a look at the real one. The problem is, child safety test. Great. This was really good. So yeah, our children are safe there in this case, and cats, of course. And here, when we close the hatch, let's take a look. Here, these then are the normal hazard lights or the normal turning indicators. And that's how the turning indicators look like in the front.
So far, so good. Thomas and I are broadly speaking in agreement, but here is where we diverge. I really like this steering wheel. I think for a new bold design, you need a new bold wheel. And I appreciate the fact that BMW haven't just gone with the same old, same old. It looks great, it's modern, but you know what? It's actually really fun and effective to use too. So that's a big hit for me. As is, again, controversially for Thomas, this driver display screen. It's clean, it's uncluttered, it's stylish, it's modern, and there's not too much of it. Thank you so much for not giving me 9 screens I don't need and only giving me exactly what I do. On which subject, let's get on to something that nobody needs but is super awesome anyway. And that's this roof. Look at that. Nobody needs that, but who cares? It's so much fun. It'll keep your children entertained for days, and it really suits this car. So I got a feature on a negative to end with. Crystal knobs. Come on, guys. That's been done. It's been tried. It kind of looks a little bit tacky, but more important than that, as Thomas did mention in his previous review, they do genuinely blind you when the sun hits you. And that, for me, is a bit of a miss.
Welcome to Thomas's active driving lounge with the BMW iX M60, and what you see here in the front, that there is the new Tesla factory Berlin Giga, Berlin Brandenburg, Grünheide. So, and we are here with the BMW Performance SUV. Isn't that a great occasion? And here we can also test the famous new launch control we put here in the sports mode. Changes the sound setting, hitting the brakes with the left foot, and now the acceleration pedal with the right foot. Here on that empty parking lot, launching towards Tesla now. Who wins it, BMW or Tesla? Let's see. Woo! So that was 0 to 70. Interesting. I mean, this parking lot is not too long. However, then don't have to do it on public roads. And yeah, and of course, I just want to be close to Tesla for that one. It's interesting, right? So 0 to 70, and of course then also hard on the brakes. One more time, guys. Listen to the sound. Woo! And did you see it on camera? this car is literally shaking. It has like a hardware shake. Oh, there's like a lot of dust rolling there. It's really shaking in the launch control. That's the new thing. You know, like here. Here, like you feel it, Brian? We're like really shaking. The camera, you can see the camera shaking. This is going further. Then it's stopping. Hey, what about that, Hans? So Hans Zimmer designed that, you know. Why did you stop it? Yeah, probably the owner wants to keep up the shaking for, you know, some period of time. This is nuts. And actually what we can also show you on this parking lot is actually here. Look at that. This is like the rear axle steering, and also in that sports mode we have more loose electronic stability control. You heard that tire screaming. So I can really put that car around. Wow, and I have the EC all the way on. It's still getting somewhat loose. Wow, this is really amazing. Whew. So yeah, that is a difference to the normal X350. Yeah, it does give you some extra boost. It's 1,100 Newton meters of torque, and wow, yeah, the air suspension is indeed tuned to a stiffer level. And yeah, that's all the Tesla workers going home now. They might wonder, like, what is this guy doing there with the new BMW performance SUV? And might we build something better? Or is this one actually better? Yeah. Whoa, yeah, so that's the difference here in the M60 version. I mean, from the outside, you might not expect that it is so different, but whoa. Yeah, I mean, the sound experience has also been enhanced. It has this more sonorous, low-frequency sound. And here, actually, I mean, I did think about the location here a little bit, because now we're getting onto the German Autobahn, the German motorway. And this will be a part, actually, where we can also drive unlimited speed. And you know, this one does have a speed unlock. I'm not sure how fast we can actually go. It also depends on the traffic, always, you know, a little bit. But yeah, let's just see how it goes. Whew, yeah, that was already something. Good that we found this empty parking lot there. And yeah, once again, greetings to all the Tesla workers, putting up a show for them. So we're still in the sport mode. You see here this screen also stays. That's a thing when you're using the GPS, it does never switch back. That's a little bit weird, isn't it? And now we are starting at about 70 kilometers an hour. And at the moment we can't launch it yet. To first see that we safely get on the motorway. Brian, can you check the action cam like here with the display? Are we seeing the speed on the small? Are viewers seeing the speed actually, like in the lower left part? Are we seeing the speed? Or is it better this way, right? Like when we have the central speed better here like this, right?
I think so.
Yeah, that's better.
My aged eyes are not
okay.
on such a thing.
Anyways, let's now accelerate from 110 kilometers an hour. Let's do it through. ...200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour, and we go further, and now we keep distance to the car in front of you. Safety first here, wow. But I mean, even if we are here at speed, there's still acceleration going. That's amazing. Wow. And also that stiffer air suspension. I mean, it's an SUV. It's a huge car, but it stays upright very much. The steering is to me a little bit maybe too artificial when I'm here on the lane change. I don't have the best feeling for it. Yet at the same time, what is really cool that it stays rather upright. So that stiffened up of the air suspension is doing a good job, and it has really great handling. For a car of that size and that weight in this segment here, it drives really awesome. That is amazing. And you may also notice that, maybe covered here a little bit by that sporty sound design, when we were driving at high speeds. Wind noise-wise, it was perfectly silent. This is one of the best insulated vehicles I have driven. It's really very silent here on the motorway at high speeds. That's really very, very well done. Good traveling comfort also in these SensaTech seats, soft and upright seating position. So you can drive it in a performance way, but at the same time you can also use it as a cruise vehicle or performance vehicle once again. Launching it through. Wow. Now we're at 220, closing top speed, and wow. This is now 250 kilometers an hour, 155 miles an hour, top speed. Now it gets getting loud, but wow. That is really getting up to speed, and we perfectly used this part of unlimited speed. Now hard on the brakes, but wow, we have so much energy running with that, but the brakes, we're doing a great job. So you feel that, you know, from an engineering standpoint here, this is an awesome piece of metal or aluminum and carbon fiber. In this case then, yeah, this is really something, you know, we have tested a lot of different vehicles now from also new electric vehicle manufacturers, and they do better software, yes. But here with this vehicle explicitly, you're the native speaker, was it? Okay, thank you. You feel that all the experience from the engineering does pay off. So yes, the user interface could be a little bit more refined, and I can use an, you know, like a Alcantara steering wheel or something, but wow, this is awesome piece of hardware. And looking from the exterior and the interior, we thought like, there's not a big difference to the normal X-Drive 50, but now driving it, yes, it's not a completely different vehicle, but you definitely feel more difference here now, X-Drive 50 to the M60, than you would expect by the minor exterior and interior differences. And that to me is a very interesting finding. At all times, you can use the My Modes driving selection. Here, go back to personal. This is then the more normal driving mode. You can also have individual settings, and then everything is rather calm. Cruise control is set here on the left side of the steering wheel. You can also pick different modes, whatever you want to, for example, the assisted driving mode. Then we have also active lane keeping assist, for example. Let's see how intrusive that is. Smooth reaction here, keeping us central in the lane. All the assistance systems are working really flawlessly. We also have blind spot monitors right and left. There will be like this flashing triangle. So assistance systems wise, everything also top notch indeed. Yeah, one of the initial question was, is it the best performance EV SUV? Performance EV SUV or performance electric performance SUV? And at this point, I mean, we haven't driven the EQS SUV yet, but I have to say, at this point, I really have to say, kinda is, you know. You know what my point was already with the last review. In general, iX with iX3. As for price performance, I would still prefer the iX3 because it has easier user interface, has less price, and it's just, you know, still great to handle. This one, of course, with a dedicated EV platform, more efficient and so on. But still, I would rather pick an iX3 for better price performance. But if money does not play a role and you want great performance and you're okay with the infotainment and the digital units here, yeah, then this is here one of the best high price luxury choices. Yeah, I can really say no doubt.
Will you join the dark side for the all-new BMW XM?
It's already clear right now that this vehicle here will split opinions. The BMW XM is a dedicated BMW M model, the first one since the legendary BMW M1. And here they decided to go with an SUV, a performance SUV, because they thought, well, there's the Lamborghini Urus, for example, or the Aston Martin DBX, and we want some share of that market, actually. This car is for people who want to attract attention and maybe don't want to be liked by everyone, indeed. And you can see it here with this huge double kidney, illuminated as well. And these golden accentuations here are standard, actually. You can depict them and go for a black frame, but they are actually standard because BMW wants this car to look unique and special. Cape York Green is this unique color as well. And well, you see, I always have this hobby that I try to wear my clothes fitting to the vehicle color, and I really had a struggle today. I hope it is like at least somehow fitting. 21 to 23 inch, and these one are indeed the biggest 23 inch, once again with the golden accentuations. Most screaming out model, but you can also go for, can you hear say for more subtle ones? You know what I mean. The same accounts for the golden strip here. This is once again standard, but you can also have it blacked out for a more sinister and less golden look, so to speak. The overall length is 5 meters 11 or 201 inches.
The wheelbase is the very same of the BMW X7, and they do also have a base platform share, but they have a lot of differences as well. And you can see that the body form is not the same. So it's also a little bit shorter than the X7, and here it's more like a, so to speak, an X7 coupe. But once again, the dedicated M model, here also with even more contrasting accentuations. You might ask yourself, why would they not go for a supercar for an own BMW M model? Well, the thing is that the time for supercars is rather over. Today's electric vehicles have great acceleration figures for maybe like think about the Kia EV6 has supercar figures, for example, and then this supercar segment is getting less attractive while the SUVs are still surging in sales. And so BMW decided to go for the BMW M model, the first dedicated one after the M1 with an SUV. It is, in a way, 2.8 tons. And the question is, can it still give you a lot of performance and driving fun? Well, they try to achieve that by technology. For example, rear axle steering as standard. So at lower speeds, the rear wheels turn in the opposite direction than the front wheels. At higher speeds, in the parallel direction. Has an adaptive suspension. No air suspension, though. So you know that the BMW M philosophy is rather not going for air suspensions to give you more contact, more feeling to the road, and also an anti-roll stabilization. Everything, is basically standard with this vehicle. You only pick the colors and some options on the interior, but that's it. And I guess the price will also be accordingly. Have you already decided for love or hate? Have you decided for the dark side? Well, it might continue right here. Look at that, the horizontal integration of these lamps, and then it's really a very bold statement also in the rear. And come closer here, these are laser engraved BMW logos, also a past citation of the BMW M1, looking really retro racing alike, definitely. Well, talking about racing, the top speed here of this vehicle is 250 kilometers an hour, optional with the driver's package 270 kilometers an hour. That's then 168 miles per hour. I don't want to meet that at that speed on the German Autobahn. I'd rather do it myself than later on in a driving test. Here in the lower part, look at that. Once again, the golden accentuations. And what? Look at these exhausts. These are definitely not fake. Real exhaust tips, of course, supposed to be for BMW M vehicle, and interesting that they're not next to each other, but in this vertical layout, really massive from the design. Do you like that? I mean, just look at that, these sculptural lines here. So, I mean, what I like about this vehicle is that they want to be unique. The rest of the factors, I will tell you more about that later, what I think about it. Let's first concentrate on the facts. Let me open the hood and let's take a look. Of course, you know that always these pulling it 2 times here with BMW. And what we have here is a 4.4 liter V8. Here we go. With either 650 horsepower or with the later label red 750 horsepower. This version here goes 4.3 seconds to 1 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour. The later available version will be even quicker. And it's not only the V8, it is a plug-in hybrid. So they went for this plug-in hybrid because they say our true BMW M model will be electrified. So we can also expect that the future BMW M5 will get the very same powertrain here. 26 kilowatt hour is the battery capacity, supposed to give you a maximum range of 80 kilometers or 50 miles. Up to a speed, pure electric driving, 140 kilometers an hour or 90 miles an hour. Of course, in most cases, both powertrains will be used, especially when you hit the accelerator pedal. So that's the way they can get the most power out of this vehicle. How does it work with the all-wheel drive? It will still have a rear-wheel bias for this all-wheel drive because the electric motor is integrated in the whole transmission. So there's no separate electric motor on the rear axle or something. No, that's not the system they're using. They're integrating it. So basically everything is working together unless you go for the EV-only mode. That might be a thing for emission zones in cities or something, or that you're a little bit more quiet when you're starting up the vehicle in the morning. This is the vehicle key with the M colors. Yeah, that's it. Cape York green vehicle color here. Would you pick this color? Tell me in the comments. Would be looking forward to that. Yeah, sorry. Now I close the vehicle. Yes, it's always because when you put your finger right here, then you close it. When you put your hand on the inside here, then you open it. And door closing sound. That sounds cool. And then inside of the doors, we see things we haven't seen before, especially this color combination. In this case, also fitting to the exterior color. And also the rest of the interior has specific M gauges here, for example, the M1 and M2 button. We know that from other existing M vehicles. There you can have your individualized driving modes. For example, you say like, hey, M1 is maybe like a mid-sporty driving mode for me, and M2 will be like sporty all the way. I will put everything from the assistance system and helping ESC aids, everything off. Then you can do that here individually. Also contrast stitching. Still real buttons on the steering wheel. The seats are in that sporty M style as well, with a lot of shoulder support, for example here, and also have these nice illuminated logos right here. So that's also a very cool idea. The car does give you also a very distinct interior smell. This would be a turn off for, especially for Chinese customers who expect that the car doesn't smell at all from the interior. Well, and one of the reasons is that they still use real animal skin in this color and in this car, and there might be like 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 cows in here. And you might think of what is the reason behind that? Because it's 2022 and BMW says we want to be a very sustainable brand and we want to go for more electrification, also for more sustainability. But here there's no other alternative to that. And that's, of course, from a customer's perspective, not acceptable. The seating comfort, however, is actually pretty good. So you have this combination then here of, like SUV high seating position. At the same time, you have a lot of support so that when you're driving a little bit fast, which you will do in this vehicle, being kept tight. Steering wheel can be adjusted electronically like this. So how does it feel also when you compare like an X5, X7 or something? You do feel that they're sharing the same base platform, but you sit lower. It definitely feels sportier. You feel more integrated in the vehicle. You don't have this super command driving position you would have in the X5 or in the X7. It's really, it is from the exterior still an SUV, but from the inside, when you feel how you sit here, you already think, this is definitely going in the sports car direction. BMW OS 8, 12.3, 14.9 screen, so 2 screens, but they're integrated in this one dash. And you already see here you have special M gauges here also inside the menu. And also throughout the rest of the interior here, very cool from the ambient lighting here, very reduced design. Then carbon fiber here, that's actually quite cool because you don't have so much black piano lacquer then. And then we also know this here where you can adjust the shifting, for example, that you have a more crisp and faster shifting. So this is special to the M cars here, that you also have a real shifting knob, of course, still. And here is then the set for the M modes, for example, where you can switch between normal road driving or sporty driving, and also the setup button where you can then individualize your driving modes. Oh, and then of course here this special exhaust button where you can spice it up even more. Digital instruments, they have this split view, also special M gauges. Left side you'll see the speed, on the right side you will see the RPM. And here in the infotainment you can see when you are in this M setup, then you can fine-tune your chassis, steering and so on. And this you can also set to the M1 or M2 button, for example. So here, there we go. M1 or M2 configuration, and then you can really say like, this is my mode, I want to have this in Sport Plus, maybe steering a little bit lighter or stiffer and so on. So highly customizable. This is what they want to do here with their M vehicles. And this lower part here will then be the AC unit, so no real dials for that. We already know it from the OS 8, at least it stays always in this position then, so you can get along with that more or less. And what they also do is get customer feedback and feedback from our channel, and we said, hey, why don't you reintegrate the AC on or off function, that you can have this, like making it less humid in the interior. So you can turn it on or off. So that's actually also possible. Other than that, the home menu looks like this, also with a special gauge. Here the visualization, also with the fitting color, for example. And then you have this gauged view here with all the apps. Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, wireless connection and wireless only indeed. Sound system, by the way, either 16 speakers Harman and Kardon, or here Bowers & Wilkins 20 speakers. So not only here, but you have another one here down there, for example, and both will actually do fine. And look at that integration here of the inside roof here, microfiber in this 3D landscape sculptural style, and I can also change the color. It is on the cost of not having a panoramic roof. So you cannot open it, you cannot see through. It looks like you could also remove it as a shade, but no, it's not. It's fixed, but then you have this special effect. It is something special and it is something new and unique. That's what I love about it. However, on the cost of not being able to go for a panoramic roof, not so sure about that. What is your take on this? If mom and dad are going racing, what about the kids here in the rear? Well, even for really tall kids, no problem. You know, I'm 189 or 6'2", and this still leaves some headroom, although we have like a little coupe-alike style here, no problem indeed, and a lot of legroom here, as it's the X7 wheelbase, although the seats are very thick here, of course. And it is very comfortable here in the rear, actually. Maybe even more comfortable in the front. I could very well imagine being chauffeured in here, so the seating ergonomics here is actually luxury sedan-alike. So yeah, that's indeed very comfortable. That's on a plus note. And here, this part here, adaptive cup holders, you can fold it down, and you can also use this one here as a ski hatch, for example. Other than that, you're of course not as flexible as with the BMW X7 here in the rear. That's not the intention. And with 530 liters of luggage capacity, you lose 220 liters in comparison to an X7. You can also get a bag here with a charging cable, for example, for the plug-in hybrid. You can see here you lose especially a lot of height, indeed, for this big plug-in hybrid battery. This is here just a cover you could remove. I already folded one half of the seat. It's a 1/3, 2/3 split. So you still have a well-usable trunk, but there is of course losses here because they need to store the battery somewhere. I can at least stand underneath here somewhat. Well, a super interesting vehicle for sure. I would like to know from you. Are you on the love or the hate side? Have you joined the dark side already with this vehicle? There are ups and downs with that one, definitely. So what I really like is that they are somewhat daring and say like, hey, we want to create something unique. You know, in a car world where a lot of models always look the same and through all the segments they start looking the very same. I think it's cool that there is some differentiation and also some fresh ideas. Hey, not everyone is loving golden wheels, but I mean, offering golden wheels for a special vehicle that is, as it stands here right now, about 180,000 euros or dollars. Why not? However, the concept then with going so high in the weight with a plug-in hybrid drivetrain, 2.8 tons, you move a lot of weight on the road and you're not deciding yet, saying like, hey, we got an all-electric SUV that is, you know, our sports thing. You know, I'm not so sure about that. The plug-in hybrid is still a compromise. And of course also that on the interior you still only get animal skin, whereas in other segments, even for the BMW 7 Series or the i7, the electric version, they offer great alternatives now. They have that, but did not put that in this vehicle. So overall, I think, I'm a fan of the uniqueness, but I'm not a fan of the whole concept and that they weren't consistent with what they do instead. This seems to be like it is set off from the rest of the corporation, which is in a way also intended. But is it the right decision?
This is the BMW X3 facelift in one of the most desirable versions, the M40i. Here is Thomas on Autogefühl, let's go. In the front, the X3 facelift delivers a different double kidney and also headlamp unit upgrade. Here, however, optional laser light in this very spec with the blue accentuations.
It's not really worth it, especially not to go for it in the US because the limited range in the US market due to regulations actually. And then in the lower part, the M40i, that sporty version with the 6-cylinder, has a unique look right here in the lower part, and also the double kidney here with the vertical fins. And when you look through, you also have this additional strut bar there for more stability. However, I think when you look at the normal facelift version, like the lower spec model, not with the biggest engine, it somehow looks a little bit more updated than this one here. Oh, what's your take on that? The length at 4.71 m or 185 inches of course stays the same. We have 19-inch wheels here today because this is still equipped with winter tires. However, usually you would then get 20-inch for the M40i, and optional even 21-inch is available actually. M logo right here and sporty accentuation with this air breather, but this one here is actually closed, so this one is just for show effect. Red brake calipers though, that looks of course a little bit sportier. And then you can, for example, also get here blacked out style with the side mirrors, and also here the black frames around the windows. This is, by the way, the color Sophisto Gray Metallic, so this looks really dark already. There are also some more screaming out colors available, and if you want an X4, you know that is the version in here where the roofline is falling down a little bit, would be somewhat similar with all the facelift changes. And of course, one of the cool features always either standard suspension, which is already stiffer, or then the adaptive suspension. In the M40i, it's in the adaptive M suspension with a sportier setup. We're also going to drive that one today. In the rear, the facelift brings us new tail lamps here with this new LED style. It looks really cool and modern, but a clean design. And the M40i has a special diffuser style, sporty way. And wait a minute, is that a case for the Autogefühl fake exhaust police? Is it? No, it's not. It actually goes through. So that way it works, and is also here fake exhaust police proven. 4 and 6-cylinder petrol and diesel engines overall for the X3 here. Turbo petrol engine with the X3 M40i, 3-liter inline 6-cylinder with 360 horsepower, and that all-wheel drive has a rear-wheel bias. Car key for the M40i here with the M colors and door closing sound. Okay, but not great. Inside of the doors with a soft touch Sensación leatherette, and also with a nice emotional X stamped in logo here. Steering here with the M steering wheel and that M40i, also with the M colors then as contrast stitches from the inside. This very vehicle is equipped with animal skin seats because with test vehicles they usually do, hey, let's check all boxes. Of course, not that helpful for the customer. You can see it in that structure. When you have this, you know, like segmented structure, then it's the animal skin seat. But here in this case, there are new perforated Sensatex seats coming, also for the M40i here in that facelift, and that is in beige, brown, black or red, and they're really great. We've seen them once already. And then you can also pick them from the configurator in different colors for all the different models. Seating position, good, comfortable, with 1.86 m or 6'1", enough headroom left, so also works for tall adults. And the steering column here is really nicely adjustable in all the different axles. Interior overview is interesting that even the M40i starts left side 5.1-inch small screen with analog instruments, but you know, that's also something to have still nowadays, and a 10.25-inch smaller screen. This then, the BMW Live Cockpit Professional, 2x 12.3-inch screens. We have a Sensatex leatherette dashboard with blue contrast stitches, and indeed it also has some kind of soft touch, so that's cool. Digital instruments, left side the speed, in the middle part you have adaptive content, and will also be some map info, for example, displayed. And when you're in the sport mode, it switches like this, and then you also have this RPM meter here on the right side. Yes, still real buttons here for the seat heating and also for the normal climate unit right here. So that's really nice to have. Manual volume jog, and steering wheel heating is one of my favorite features, definitely for winter time. Left side at the steering wheel, the cruise control, all real buttons. Good to have here also then for the active lane keeping assist. Right side for volume or for the voice control.
Hello, what can I help you with?
Drive me to Berlin.
I found several destinations. Which one shall I select?
So that works. Always depends also on the web connection, of course. And here in the Live Cockpit Professional, we have that car GPS map, which is actually quite okay. You can use this also with the voice control, for example. The thing is really, of course, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and the map is still better, like with the apps, but this is still a GPS you can actually use. And so you maybe save some data usage or something. You can also control the screen from below, what I'm doing here at the moment, so I'm not using the force or something. And then we also have the driving information. We can check out the journey data, for example, and yeah, you can score some, usually like 10, 11 liters per mile kilometer, so barely some 20 mpg US and less than 30 mpg UK. So not the best consumption figures, of course, for this performance SUV. And here you can then control your phone to Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Then a hotkey basically always appears here in the top part like this. And then we have either the Google Maps, or you can, by the way, you can use it as a touchscreen here, but also from the MMI, well, MMI, it's called it Audi, sorry, from the drive controller here in the lower part. So both is actually possible. An optional Harman Kardon sound system. Yeah, and that sounds really amazing and also suitable to the vehicle. That's cool. And may I just make another case for BMW OS 7 here. This left menu has a good overview. You exactly know what you're going to do. And here, this is also kept fairly straight. The all-new BMW OS 8, to me, more complicated. In the lower area, the M button, and then we have this slider here. The material here is not the best actually, but the slider here. Then you have adaptive cup holders, and you could have an inductive charging pad if there is no semiconductor shortage. Then it is missing at this moment and not to be ordered, maybe at a later stage. USB-A charger here in the front. Classic shifting lever for the automatic transmission, for reverse, drive, and the left side then would be for the sports shifting mode, more when we drive that one. And here, besides the touch screen, you can also use here this nice metal or knurled or galvanized style turning jog, and this is really cool to be able to control it while driving. Then here underneath the soft armrest, some more space, and it is also very well attached. Not to forget the BMW wings or angel lights here in the top ceiling. I love that. Can we pay homage for the car cleaning crew for just a second? How nicely cleaned these floor mats are, kind of with the structure you see. Beautiful, isn't it? Am I crazy? Maybe. But when you at the car enthusiast watch this channel, maybe you think the same thing as I do. Leave me that in the comments. Here, headroom in the rear, no problem. And then we can also adjust the back bench here a little bit. There we go. Thank you. So a little bit more back or a little bit more upright. So this is also a helpful feature. As for the legroom, it does fit here with the recess when I'm driving. So yes, it is 4 toy adult proof, somewhat 5 when you consider the big middle tunnel. It's also soft here to sit in the middle part. But considering the length of the vehicle, it does not offer the best legroom. If you compare to an X1, well, there the X1 really scores it very well because it basically has the same legroom in the rear because it saves space due to the short 4-cylinder hood in the front. Cup holders here in the rear, by the way, with an armrest like this, and they're also adaptive so that the kids don't spill it always. And with the facelift here, you now also have 2 USB-C chargers in the rear. Trunk area is spacious, and here the normal length is almost 94 centimeters, 37 inches. Here this cover is somewhat wobbly here. It doesn't have rails left and right. And you can see here, cabin trolley also easily fits in an upright way. Then the width of that whole thing, this is 1.40 meters. And you can see it's on the inside of these rails where it is 1.40 meters. So that's actually good. So there are no button or switches here to fold the seats. You can reach over here. That is possible. The middle part here is also a ski hatch, so you can also individually fold that. From here it's theoretically also possible. So like this, that would also work. Or you have then this 2/3, 1/3 split, and the length here to the front seats is 1.75 meters or 68 inches. Last but not least, let's check out the overall height, like to the very top. And this is here around 80 centimeters or 31 inches. By the way, here underneath you do have some more space. Do you see this? This here actually, when you put it down, creates this sound effect. Just listen to it. that really like fixed in there. And yeah, like this kind of sound feedback also from vehicles, really appreciate. And also here details like the, like this, well, it's not a loading cover. It's more making it complicated in a way, but it looks cool. And the famous Autogefühl child safety test. Wow, that was smooth. Nice. Welcome to Thomas's driving lounge, BMW X3 facelift M40i. Yes, that 3-liter inline 6-cylinder. And we put it here to the sports mode and also the S shifting mode for best performance. And you wonder why people go for the X3 instead of the X1? And why would people go for the M40i instead of the base X3? Well, here's the answer. Plop, 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour, and this thing is still going further. And here, lane change now. Whoa, my God, this is like it's an SUV, but still so good in the handling. And we don't have the biggest wheels here, and even with winter tires, great sporty performance, 19-inch wheels, winter tires here today. Of course, with summer tires, it will feel even sportier. BMW adaptive suspension is as an option here as the adaptive M suspension with a little bit more sporty note. It's doing a great job indeed. And then here on the brakes, yeah, and you hear that shifting when you are in that S shifting mode and also that sport mode. Boom, boom, boom. And I can also use the shifting pedals here myself, of course. And I mean, this engine here, it doesn't sound exaggerated. Not like, hey, come on, everyone, look at me. But then again, it's also not super subtle, saying like, everyone, should know what I'm capable of, but I'm not I'm not a show-off, but at least know that I'm here. Does that make sense? So I think they found a good solution for here. And comfort mode, and once again normal shifting mode. And adrenaline can flow away once again here back in the tunnel. We also have some ambient lighting. You can see that right here. Of course, set to Thomas Blue, also in the lower part. So I think that's actually beautifully done. And yeah, I think all the elements they've put here in this vehicle. It's just like with the sound, that looks weird on camera right now. Like when this, I can't see without the sun visor, So I have dark face and I have like bright neck. Yeah, about that. So I think in this vehicle here, everything, you have some touch, you have some emotion, some sporty touch definitely, but not exaggerated. And I think it's like an, German understatement sports SUV, you know what I mean? And I really like that, So because when I'm driving here and also a sporty SUV, I don't need everyone to turn heads and say like, oh, this is the sportiest SUV ever, and oh my God, this guy has so much horsepower under there. But then again, some sporty nuances, and this here can be used for everything. You can use it as a normal X3 and just have a good Autobahn cruise, and also maybe some soft. What's that? No idea. Maybe also some soft off-roading, like gravel roads and stuff. At the same time, just as I did, flow it out, have that great punch, and yeah, the 3-liter inline 6-cylinder has such a good culture. We say that about engines in German. We say kultiviert, like cultured. Yeah, that's sorry about that German. But I think it describes it very, very well, because it has a nice refined sound. It always has performance no matter where you want it. But also when you keep it in higher gears and are not in the sport mode, with low RPM, has this sonorous, little growling, still moves forward, not too fast, in a very natural way. I think the favorite thing about this engine for me is that it has this natural character, almost like a naturally aspirated engine. Of course, this one is turbocharged, but it doesn't have like this, it's very, very balanced from the engine. Powerful, but balanced. And this is the thing here about the whole vehicle. It is balanced. Sporty, yes. Comfortable, Also yes. And this adaptive BMW suspension, I think it's really great because once again it can do both. And then when you are using these driving modes, then you can also have it a little bit stiffer in the sport mode and it's a little bit softer in the comfort mode. And you know, some of the competitors do come with air suspension, mostly optional of course. And I do not miss the air suspension here because that adaptive suspension is doing such a good job. And once again, also if you compare like in a, you know, when you have like an Audi Q5 with an air suspension or a Mercedes GLC with the air suspension, this adaptive suspension here by BMW also once again makes the riding balanced. You know, it feels also natural. And that's really a cool thing about this vehicle. I mean, we still have, you know, the manual climate dials and here also the volume jog, also have real buttons on the steering wheel. And everything about this vehicle, you know, like steering, suspension, engine setup, how I have the user interface and so on, says, yeah, it is modern. You can get the BMW Live Cockpit here with the bigger screen and so on. But it is still something that is designed for a driver. Is that something special? Yes, in nowadays car world, this is something special that you do design something directly for the driver. This one here still has a natural interface, driver, car and road. And that's what I actually appreciate about this one. Here, by the way, active lane keeping assist, keeping the car in the lane. Do not take your hands off the steering wheel. You always have to be careful with promising too much from assistance systems. So it's doing a very smooth job to really adjust that very well. Not hectic steering interventions by that. That's a really good thing. Even if you have turned it off, it still is helpful. Here, by the way, even if you're in a normal mode and hit the throttle, wow, it goes forward so well. So you don't need to go in the sports mode. Whoa, this is so much fun. In that long corner, and once again we are at 200. Definitely with summer tires it's better to control. So here with the winter tires it's not most fun at high speed. So this then will change when you have the summer tires, definitely. As for wind noises, of course it's still an SUV, therefore it's not super silent at high speeds, but still good noise insulation overall. Then we put it to a more reasonable highway speed, like 130 kilometers an hour. So then we're at, it's like 70, 80 miles an hour, so something like that. And then it's also quite good. Oh, it's nice to see some convertibles on the road, they're getting rare. This vehicle here is, like this exact test car, is also equipped with additional noise insulation windows, like the glass, insulation glass. You can get it in the extra, this is like 400, 500 euros extra or something. And yeah, of course, the overall price of this vehicle is really hefty. So with all the extras and so on, you're getting close to a 90k US dollars or euros. And whew, that's of course too much, definitely. It's not that the competition would be much different in the comparable models. But then you have to think about, yeah, it's great to have the 6-cylinder, but if I can get the base X3 for a way better price, at the end of the day, I would recommend that because, you know, at the end of the day, we want also price-performance ratio, and the base X3 already delivers most of the features that also this car is giving you, like this sporty yet comfortable driving feeling, a very balanced feeling, the space that is being offered. And of course, it's not justified that you pay double the price here for the M40i. Yes, it can do more, and the inline 6-cylinder is great, but double the price than the base version. Really tough to do that, unless you say like, I really don't need to watch the money, or maybe I have like a good leasing rate or something like that. And one more time, agile driving here in the sport mode, by the way. I also have more feedback from that steering wheel. That is actually good. It could actually deliver a little bit more feedback, even, I think. But yeah, it's overall fine. But it could be, definitely a little bit more progressive, I think. So as for the steering feeling, I think that Audi, for example, has a little bit better feeling there than the BMW does. So, and here now, some more winding corners, also sport shifting mode. see, of course, the all-wheel drive here has a rear-wheel bias still. That's of course important to always pay attention for the two-wheel guys, our friends. Here out of the corner now. There, left-right combination. And then you can push it out a little bit out of the corner. Of course, you heard it here when I'm just gently with throttle. It doesn't scream up too much, even not in the sports mode. It really needs push, and then it does also come. Here with the bumpy road, by the way, in the sports mode, you do feel more what's underneath you. When you go in the comfort mode, then it's also a little bit softer once again. You can also have these combinations. So, for example, here I can do S shifting mode and still comfortable suspension. That could maybe be a motorway setup that you want to have more power, more RPMs or so on, but you still want a comfortable suspension when the motorway is bumpy or something like this. Yeah, just thinking of some motorways in the LA area where I just returned from. This could then be a suitable setup for that. So going downhill a little bit more, feeling the weight of the vehicle. In the difference to the X1, by the way, here of course we have the longer hood, but still this one has a very good and agile driving feeling, no doubt about that. So once again, a lot of fun in the M40i. Yes, it is more fun and offers more than a base X3 by the cost of the way higher price actually. Is it worth it? Can't really say so. It is nicer, it is sportier, but for double the price, of course, questionable. But that's a common thing. That's quite often that case.
This is a full review of the BMW X4. Today, as the top sports version, the BMW X4 M competition. Please join us here on Autogefühl, your number one resource for in-depth car reviews and your number one community to discuss cars with Thomas. Here in exterior, interior, and the sporty driving experience. As you know, everything in full HD, full screen, and full length. Let's go! Now to the front. Well, starting with the X line, with the normal BMW X4, we get LED as standard headlamps then, and optional adaptive LED lights. This is the highest option then. Beautiful daytime running light signature then in this case also. The X4 M has this bigger front double kidney, also with a dark or black design and with the vertical fins right there, X4 M badge. Also more impressive here and high gloss black in this lower area, overall a very strong stance in the road. But already as normal X4 looks stronger than before in this new generation. This striking color here for today, by the way, is called Toronto Red. 4.76 m, 15'6" or 187 inches is the length of the BMW X4, and usually it comes then starting with 18-inch wheels. But here the X4 M competition would go up to 21-inch wheels. However, today we have 20-inch wheels with winter tires mounted. Therefore, the tires look a little bit bigger also. Let's see also what that changes in the driving behavior. Then here the top model, the competition package usually includes a little bit more extra features always, exterior and interior actually. And here we have these side design elements, but they're just design elements, by the way, so there's no function in this case. You know, with some BMW models, they have this Airstream or air curtain function then in the front, but here it's not the case. Here we have contrasting black mirrors, and they have very aerodynamic, beautiful design. Then black all around the frames right here to make it a little bit sportier, and this X4 new generation has a little bit more elegant roofline here, and especially how it forms then to the rear. Strong shoulder, and it will get even more interesting in the rear. Of course, big difference, X3, X4 is this falling roofline.
which has this sporty appeal, but then of course also some practicability disadvantages. Really depends on what you like. And of course the M model here comes with an M Sports suspension. The new generation of the BMW X4 comes here with these new horizontal tail lamps, and I think they're really more modern and more beautiful. Overall, the rear is a little bit sleeker than. But then again, the X4M competition adds here this black rear wing, together with a massive diffuser in the lower part, honeycomb structure right here, and then the sports exhaust. 1, 2, 3, 4. What do you think about the sound you heard so far? So what we have here today is the X4M competition, 3-liter inline 6-cylinder, 510 horsepower, 4.1 seconds is the acceleration figure, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour. Wow, that's of course pretty impressive. The non-competition model is at 480 horsepower, 0.1 seconds slower, if you can say so. And then this 3-liter 6-cylinder is also available as the M40i with 360 horsepower. That's totally fine. And also a pretty cool engine pick. Probably I would rather go for this one for a better price-performance ratio. And then of course you also have the 2-liter 4-cylinders, also on the petrol side. And then diesels, you also have the choice between 2-liter 4-cylinder and 3-liter 6-cylinder. Interesting here of course that we have this additional carbon fiber bar, stability bar, that gives more stiffness to the chassis. Now let's take a look at the interior. Here carbon fiber inserts for this M competition model, very beautiful. And also other than that, instead of the doors, soft touch, everything from a great quality. Here you also get these M competition entry badges. Then a steering wheel with the distinct M mode buttons. You can program them what they are supposed to do actually to give the car a little bit sportier touch. And then that left side here for the cruise control, right side to start the voice recognition system or for the volume, for example. Then the X4M only comes with animal skin seats. You can see these sport seats here, they look amazing, really cool as for the form. And here also with the M competition you get these illuminated badges inside. Well, for the base X4 you also get more sustainable or animal-friendly materials. In Europe, for example, fabric and the fabric mixed seat, and especially in the US you get the Sensación in black and beige. So especially for the sportiest versions I would have wished some microfiber or fabric seat mix, because then you don't slide on them too much also while driving sporty. Now getting inside, of course, as always with a shoe tap, get the interior clean. Well, here the seating position is upright, as you know from an SUV. But it's a little bit sportier if you have compared to the X3, because the A-pillar is flatter here. But if I put the seat in the lowest position with 1.86 or 6'1", there's still enough headroom left, plenty of. Well, it will be less when you have a panoramic roof, this one here without one. I usually put the seat a little bit higher then again to have a more upright seating position right there. Steering wheel can be put up and down and in and out, and it's a very smooth process as well. So for these additional sport seats, they are still somewhat comfortable. However, the base sport seats in the X4 will be more comfortable as they leave you a little bit more room to play with. These are of course a little bit more caging in, unless you really like that. Now to the interior, soft touch material here, the dashboard, beautiful. Then you have the carbon fiber inserts here for the sporty models. It's also really cool. You still have a separate climate unit with this, turning knobs, and I really like to have that to be able to control it somewhat manually. Then in the lower part, either it's being closed or you open it. X4M competition badge in this competition package. Inductive charging pad for your smartphone. In this case makes sense because we also have the Apple CarPlay wireless. Then adaptive cup holders and the special shifting lever. So interesting is that for the driving mode you put it to the right side, or for the sports mode once again, neutral and then rear. So it's a little bit imitating it would be manual. So the top part here is for changing transmission modes, and on the left side you also have different settings here. For example, all for the suspension when you want to put that manually, you know. So a lot of different variations. And on the right side still this turning pressing knob. You can also control this touchscreen from below, for example, while driving. The cover here, very well attached. And if you open the armrest, some more space underneath with another USB-A charger. The second one is in the very front. Then with the steering wheel, we have these M buttons right there. You can set them as separate customizable hotkeys. You have shifting pedals here, which feel quite good. And then the digital instruments, they are, let's say, half digital, half analog, because the outside parts there, you know, the aluminum, let's say, rings, they are analog, but on the inside it's all digital. And then we can also rev it up, for example, here. Yeah, here we go. Rather a classic style, but I somehow like it. And when you turn them off, it looks like this. And when I then open the door as well, then you can see that they actually disappear. We have this operating software here at the moment, but the latest one is supposed to be coming as well. But this one already has the Apple CarPlay in a wireless way. Let's listen to this optional Harman Kardon sound system, which is really nice surround sound. Really like that. And once again, they always do that with the manufacturers. They put the bass in the settings all the way up. They say, oh, it sounds even more sophisticated. And then I search the equalizers and turn the bass all the way down, because I want to hear the true sound system. Very interesting. So here the main menu once again. Actually pretty decent fuel economy overall for this very sporty car. Let's take a look at the GPS right here. So also pretty responsive. I like that. And the GPS destination software is also good. And since this one here is not the one with the natural voice input, it still works. However, when I put the voice input and then say like a destination, this still works. So some basic functions already are there, but not with a natural voice input, let's say. And camera-wise, when you put in the rear view camera, then there we go. Also with the helping lines right there and fake draw view from above. And then there's also a separate camera button. For example, you can change it around. This one here then, for example, with the very wide angle, pretty impressive. Or then back to this view again. And here you can see how you can configure your M settings. For example, right there, what you want to have it as for the M1 button. Want to have the DSC, how the X drive is behaving, for example, engine setting, chassis. So you can also, for example, put the chassis to a comfortable mode, but the throttle and to a very aggressive input, however you want to like it. Yay! And BMW wings here as the top lighting. I always like to see that. Do you fancy them as well? As for the rear, there's also soft touch at the rear inside of the doors, so that's good quality-wise. These sport seats here are quite voluminous, therefore they don't also leave too much legroom. Here, you see, it's still okay for 4 tall adults, no problem, but not more. And if you compare, for example, X3 or X4 to the X1, the BMW X1 has the same legroom here in the rear because no 6-cylinders in that one, shorter front hood, but here in the X3 or X4, we do have the 6-cylinder possibility. That's why we also have the X4 M here today. Well, headroom-wise, I do exactly fit here. I can put a hand over my head still. So although you have this falling roofline, it still works with the X4. Well, the rear seating bench is not the most comfortable one, so to say, also pretty short, but I think it's still okay. Here also interesting that you have the possibility here with this button actually to change it a little bit, so you can put it a little bit more back or a little bit more to the front, change the angle of the back part. You can already also flip the seats from here. Other than that, here with the competition model, we also have these beautiful stripes at the seating, at the seat belt. Yes, of course, seating belt. Well, and then there's the ISOFIX here at the outside and cup holders. Adaptive also with these rubber. And ski hatch. And last but not least, the middle unit here. You can also get a separate climate unit here and another 12-volt power supply. Well, you flip the logo here to open it. 525 to 1,430 liters. So that's a little bit less in liter figure than with the BMW X3, but just a little bit because the liter figures are measured actually below this top cover here, which you can also remove, by the way, better with 2 hands, of course. Then the trunk here, as for The luggage size you see here fits very well, no problem. You can also reach over like this from here to flip the seats. That's possible because there are no separate releases right here. And also some measurements for you. So the normal trunk length up to the seats upright is here about 1 meter. The same also goes for the trunk width. A little bit more actually. And the height here up to the cover is about 50 centimeters. So overall good dimensions. Just when you want to transport some very, very high things here in the rear, that would be a limiting factor if you compare it to the X3. And here in length, this is almost 1 meter and 80. Well, there's one thing here when you are in a basement garage, because then you see how high this one is opening and you have to pay attention that it doesn't hit the, the top ceiling of the basement garage. So I'm not really sure. I have to put it against the BMW X3, but especially here then also with the top wing and so on, that can actually be a problem. Last but not least, what about child safety? Yeah, I think that's still quite okay. Welcome, my friends, to the BMW X4 M, Thomas's active driving lounge. We'll pull it here with the first M button, everything in the sports gauges. I'll reduce the speed a little bit for you that you can get more of this acceleration. We start at about 50 kilometers an hour, so like at 25 miles something, and let's accelerate out. That's 200 kilometers an hour or 125 miles. Very impressive. Very even acceleration from this all-wheel drive. Wow. Smooth but yet very powerful. Nice engine sound. This 3-liter 6-cylinder engine is superb. Not only in the M version here, but also in the normal base versions. What a great engine. And here, of course, delivering even more performance, being tuned from the software. But it can also be quite efficient as well. More to that later. Wow. And car is still very stable here. Of course, not as stable as a sedan or something would be. So here I have to fight it a little bit. Here we go. And also with winter tires, So when you're driving these high speeds with winter tires in an SUV, you maybe saw also that the car was, moving just a little bit more as a sedan would do with especially with summer tires. So of course, always pay attention to that. In this sports mode, also the suspension is a little bit stiffer than. You can all individualize it as we've shown you in the interior part. You want to go down here, guys? There we go. Peugeot 206cc. Funny little car, right? Not being built anymore for ages, but definitely really funny. Yeah, this hardtop construction was also a tricky thing. So you can always go back to the comfort mode again. Then a little bit easier to roll here just, but wait a minute, that's a tunnel. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I really love electric vehicles. I have no problem when the car does not have any sound, but I mean, when we have a sound here now, why not listen to it? At least when we're in the tunnel and we are not annoying anyone, sleeping in their garden or something. So in the valley, in the village, next to the neighbors, I always, try to pay as much respect as possible. Here on the motorway, then you can let it fly a little bit more. So now again back to 100 kilometers an hour, and also noise insulation wise here motorway speeds really good. They've worked on that in this new generation. Pretty amazing. Nothing to complain about. It's also actually suitable for longer motorway drives. No problem with that. And so the suspension setting here in the M, it's an adaptive suspension, so you can switch it around a little bit, but I'm a little bit more happy with that here than with the BMW X5 M or the X6 M. That was a little bit stiffer from the whole setup, but again, could also be a real thing. Soon going to talk more about that. First of all, let's accelerate it out once more. Well, and here we go. at high speeds, yeah, you feel the winter tires definitely. They're swinging a little bit too much. And again, the winter tires are also not laid out to have like these high speeds. And you do realize it's an SUV. So yeah, I mean, it's impressive how sport they could get it. But then again, at some point, you can't also deny the genes for that. So a true sports car would be a little bit calmer than here in this high-speed corner, definitely. But still a lot of sporty fun you're having here. These solar panels almost look like a speed camera, but there's no limited speed here, not yet. Soon there will come some speed limiting, and we can use that for another brake from 200 to 120. Not hammering it completely, but here, you know, wow, those brakes really hammer it in. But then maybe you saw again how it was, you know, correcting a little bit. So back to the normal driving mode again. Whew. Yeah, that was quite speedy already. So I can just conclude from this sporty driving part here, awesome acceleration, and especially here with winter tires, you have to be, you know, paying attention. Winter tires plus SUV does swim just a little bit, so can't deny the fact that sedans are better as for the sports performance. But again, impressive what they've done here with an SUV, how sporty they can actually make that feel. Yeah, that's also how city driving is sometimes, you know. Also Jaguar F-Type, soon also Jaguar F-Type facelift here in Autogefühl. Well, yeah, I mean, you can also drive actively in the city. A little bit, of course, you have to be calm, watch your cyclist, don't exceed the maximum speed inside the city, but accelerating out in a sporty manner from the traffic light, yeah, sometimes why not? That's why we are also still car enthusiasts, you know, like sentient car enthusiasts, but yeah, somehow it's still in the blood. Well, and the thing is here, also inside the city, I can, for example, use the cruise control. And keeps up the speed then as I wanted, and I can also activate or deactivate the lane keeping assist, but that wouldn't be, you know, a big factor when driving here in the city. The thing is here, I was starting in sports mode, but usually I would go back to the normal mode, because here in the city I want to drive a little bit calmer. Unless the next traffic light is on red, for example, I can go back to the sports mode again, just using this shifting lever. Yeah, I mean, we can also then change the different transmission modes. So in this case, when I'm switching to the sports mode, it goes also a mode up in the transmission mode. Well, when you go back, it really kicks you in there. But you know, the normal transmission mode is usually also just fine and already quite sporty. And there's really so much things you can do then. Here again, then we know with this M button, which you can individualize, or then the second M button, which you could set to an even harsher tone, but most of the time it's not really that relevant in the city. Especially also I would leave the suspension on comfort. Yes, you know, the suspension is adaptive, but still it is of course stiffer and rougher than with the normal X4 cars. However, I do feel, maybe it's the combination also 21-inch and summer tires versus 20-inch and winter tires, which we have here. So you can also get this summer tires, 21-inch, that's the stiffest combination then. But here then, riding 20-inch with the winter tires, that is better to sustain. And I also had it with the BMW X5 and X6 M, where we had the biggest wheels mounted that were available for that one. And then also with summer tires then in the US. And that was such a harsh ride. So I feel that this ride here is a little bit better. I think it shows again that you should not always go for the biggest wheels. Yeah, I mean, they look kick-ass, definitely, yeah. But again, if riding comfort is any concern to you, you would rather leave it with the little bit smaller wheels. So the cool thing is, with this 3-liter 6-cylinder we have here, you can also drive it in a calm way. We also know this engine from non-M models, and it's a very good overall engine. It can also somewhat be driven in an economic way, if you want so. So when you have cruise control, motorway and so on, you can score some 10 liters on 1 kilometers or 23 mpg US, 28 mpg UK with this vehicle here. That is possible as long as you don't really use that throttle. And that's, I mean, the good thing about this 3-liter 6-cylinder, it's actually for a petrol engine quite efficient one. Will be even better, of course, in the fuel economy figures when you're not in this M version, because you're not tempted to use it all the time, all the way. And you know, maybe also you experience that here together with me in the city. It can indeed also be driven in a calm way. Here also I feel that the steering setup is really great, and it's so much better than in the BMW 3 Series. Once again, yeah, maybe you've heard me complaining about that quite a lot of times with the 3 Series. I don't understand. Here, the SUVs, which are built in Spartanburg in the US, they don't have any dead zone area here, you know, in the low degree angles, but the 3 Series has. Why? I don't know. Here in the SUVs, especially in the compact SUVs, perfect steering setup, feels natural, direct enough, not too much work on the steering wheel, so it's a very great steering setup they did find here. The X4, of course, has a little bit less overview than the X3, so, and this one here, the A-pillar is flatter, so you feel already sportier. It usually also has a sportier setup when you directly compare base versions. So it really depends on what's your preference there, whether it's X3 and X4, definitely. But it has such a good and neutral balanced handling. Doesn't feel too heavy, doesn't feel too big. That's of course also an advantage if you compare, you know, X4 versus X6. So even if you say like, you know, don't care about the money and so on, if you want a little bit sportier, better handling, then you would go for the smaller vehicle. And of course, you don't have so much problems like parking in and out. If you live in an area where space or parking space is no problem anyway, well, you know, then it can also be an X5, especially considering the price we have to pay here for this very vehicle. And you remember, you know, you can easily get a nicely spec'd X4 or like 50k something. That's possible, you know, it's okay, you know, euros or dollars. This one here, as it stands here right now, overall, 108,000 euros. Seriously, for an X4? Come on, really? Yeah, we had a lot of fun in the acceleration, and here also the brakes are working very well, definitely. Always have to react to these traffic lights. But then again, no, I don't think the price is really justified for that, you know? Because already with the normal version here of the 3-liter 6-cylinder engine, the non-M version, you can have a lot of fun. It's no problem, yeah. But that's quite often the times with these high-spec versions. By the way, when you're standing still here, we also realize that very good noise insulation here. That's also a step up the game here, considering the previous generation, this generation. And if you ask me, the biggest difference is really this feeling of refinement here in this new generation. If you compare it to the previous one, also interior build quality and so on, this is the thing I think that that matters most. And when I want a little bit more acceleration, either I use the S shifting mode, not necessarily going all to this sports gauge, or I shift back myself with the shifting pedals, and then you already can get a nice punch. And even this punch, since the all-wheel drive is really rear-wheel biased, holding the right pedal, by the way, to go in the automatic shifting mode again. I mean, I was getting on the motorway, hitting the throttle with a little bit lower gear, and everything, all these stability systems were in place. And even in this situation, I felt, yeah, it's predominantly rear-wheel driven. Not all, of course, since also power is transported to the front wheels, but the rear got a little bit lighter. It didn't slide out or something, but just got a little bit lighter. That's, you know, something you feel, and you know, when you have just a feeling for your vehicle, you know, that's it. So very interesting, very sporty, very cool, and I think it's always pretty amazing how sporty you can make such an SUV that you sit still upright and more comfortable than you would be in a sedan or something, but still can have this sporty experience. Of course, a sedan, due to the lower center of gravity, will always be sportier than as for this, and you know, the agility aspect. But this is always, you know, this is still totally fine. And again, when you, for example, as for me, I mean, just from the visual part, I find sedans more beautiful. But then again, when you're a little bit taller and you tend to get lower back pain in some very low-sitting cars, then of course the SUVs do help you with the upright seating position. And that's why I always appreciate SUVs as well, because they give me an upright seating position and never have any back pain in them. Unless the seats are like very, very badly made or something. And you know, that rarely happens. Glad for that. So here now again in the motorway and stuck a little bit in traffic, then the speed to the car in front of me, or distance to the car in front of me, is being kept. I also set it here on the steering wheel if I want to increase or decrease the distance. And then there's this lane keeping assist, which I can activate or deactivate. And let's see if it's also reacting to these yellow lines here. Sometimes, you know, because they're all rather programmed on white lines. Yeah, see, that's just the thing again. And it's not really like, I'm not sure what I've done there, but it's like not very accurately done. So let's exit these yellow lines and get to the white lines and see how it does there. There, I guess it will do a little bit better. Always a pleasure, by the way, to look through these side mirrors, you know, the especially aerodynamic design of the side mirrors, and that's just an emotional aspect when you're driving this vehicle. Also, when being traveling, looking at the side mirror, like, that's fancy, that's cool. Yeah, you know, those are the things we look forward to in life, right? Yeah, if someone non-car enthusiast will watch it and think that this guy is absolutely crazy. So, and now on the white lines again, we can also take a look at the blind spot monitor. Those cars there will overtake us. These cars will overtake us. There it is. Not sure what he was waiting for, but there it is with the blind spot monitor, yellow triangle right there. Pretty helpful feature. And then it's also tested here now with the lane keeping assist. Of course, always keep your hands on the steering wheel. That's how it's meant to be actually. So a little bit reducing of the distance now. But see here, the car is being kept in the lane, and it's been done in a quite subtle way actually. So it's not like always like we had it recently, for example, in the Ford Kuga, the new generation, that was a little bit too nervous here. But this is here like a very smooth process definitely in doing that. And one more overtaking for today, just for you. Wow. Yeah, and that's uphill. Wow, so effortless again. Really cool. And again, even though I had the lane assist in now, this active lane keeping assist, I could easily get rid of it, so to say. So there was a good transition between handling the car myself again. And that's, I think, again, pretty decent. So overall, once again, very impressive what they put here on the road. What do you think? And now to the conclusion for today with the BMW X4 in general, and here especially the BMW X4 M. Well, this new generation has massively stepped up the game into the interior build quality. That's the most significant change when you compare previous and the new generation. The exterior is a little bit more modern, and especially the rear has a better design now. I think looks a little bit sleeker than before. Well, the offering of space on the interior is not the best, but somehow also okay. Again, the interior build quality is good. Sadly, they do not offer any animal skin alternative for the M version, but in the normal versions there are European market either fabric seats, and on the US market also Sensatec seats available, which are more sustainable than. Infotainment system wise, of course not the most upgraded version here yet today, but the upgrade is also in planning, I heard, when you get a newer model for that. That you also have the option. And X4 versus X3, well, the thing is here really, as for the design, one disadvantage is, of course, when you're in a basement garage, that it doesn't open that wide for that it opens too wide actually with the X4, and the X3 stays a little bit lower. As for the rear hatch, that could be a problem. And of course, if you want to load in higher things, then the X3 has an advantage. This one here, the sportier approach, and also when you sit on the inside, you always feel that a little bit. Well, and then the X4 M here today, really sporty, of course. The 3-liter 6-cylinder is a great engine. It can be driven, as I said earlier, also in a way, in an economical fashion. But then, of course, a sportier tune here today. So impressive what they could do with an SUV. But then again, it's still a higher SUV than a sedan. And especially when you drive it with winter tires, it's, in comparison. A little bit more swimming like the sedan on the road, but still pretty cool how sporty you can drive even though you are in this mid-size SUV. Have you always secretly been dreaming of owning a BMW X6, but it's too expensive or maybe too large for the area you live in? Well, the all-new BMW X2 is now, so to speak, a small BMW X6, and we have it in different versions, different powertrains. In this very review, we will drive the X2 M35i, the top spec in the combustion engine trim, versus the top all-wheel drive electric model, and then see how it plays out. How do they compare? Everything you need to know about this new generation with Thomas and Autogefühl in full HD. Wait a minute, we're in 4K now. In 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the front, with a large double kidney here. Also optional with the iconic glow that is here, this illumination around the kidney. This is here also styling wise the M performance model, the M35i of the X2. So you have this more aggressive look, a lot of high gloss black paint here. And this is also an individual BMW color. It's called Frozen Tampa Bay green. Wow, yeah, that is definitely screaming out, isn't it? Then the headlamps, you can see these are with these blue accentuations, the optional adaptive LED lamps. Here the daytime running light on the outside, main headlamp unit on the inside, and more sporty accentuations that would also appear when you have the M Sport package. Then here, wheels. These are 20-inch wheels. Overall, the portfolio is 17 up to 21, but these ones are already really sporty. It will be very crucial if they deliver enough comfort, because suspension-wise, you get a base suspension or the adaptive M suspension. But I have to say, BMW, I found it a little bit misleading calling it adaptive M, because to me an adaptive suspension is always adjustable from the inside. You can pick the sport mode, then it gets stiffer, you go for comfort mode and it gets softer. That's not the case here actually. It is adaptive in a way of passive adaptive. They are frequency selective dampers that mean they react on the different impact they get, like quick or soft, and then they automatically adapt. But that means you cannot adjust it. So this one, since it is the M performance model, does have the adaptive M suspension, and we'll tell you later when we drive the vehicle if that's fine for comfort or not. Length, 4 meters 55 or 179 inches, and that means it is actually 19 centimeters or 8 inches longer than the predecessor. It has grown massively, also slightly in wheelbase, and it's now also a little bit longer than the BMW X1 brother, 5 centimeters or 2 inches longer. But the styling, you can see the X2 has always been about this coupe styling. It's way more stretched now in this very area, and a really strong hip area you can see right there. And yeah, I always love this frozen paint, especially because when you hug or pet the vehicle, you can hear that actually. Look at that aggressive rear here, of course. When you have an M Sport package or the M Performance model, then it's even more aggressive, especially with the black accentuations in the lower part here with the diffuser style. And then real exhaust, I mean, massive. This is still a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, and that looks like a V8 or something, doesn't it? They're real. Then the new graphic for the tail lamps, like really, you know, technology style, I would call that way, so not smooth at all. And then here the M35i has this huge rear wing that is also once again having that black contrast. Would you prefer rather a more subtle version, or do you like here the M35i style? Tell me in the comments. By the way, aerodynamics has also been improved, now at 0.25 in the CD value. And also, I mean, that's quite obvious, especially if Leah comes around like here, like this really straight view here. The track is also wider now, and that gives you a bigger stance on the road. And probably also more driving dynamics. We'll find out very soon. Ooh, turning indicators, look at that, how they replace the daytime running light, and they also have this pulsing effect like a heartbeat. Some actually do like that, but I've also read comments that some find this pulsing effect rather weird. What do you think? And in the rear, the indicators replace a part of the light. Quite fancy, isn't it? As for the engine lineup, this is the top spec 2-liter 4-cylinder, here also with the separate dome strut, M badge on there for the M35i. This one here, 300 horsepower in Europe, 317 horsepower on the Northern American market, 5.4 seconds in the acceleration figure, and all-wheel drive. There's like front plus rear on demand. This is the quickest model out there, the most powerful one. The next in line would actually be the iX2, the all-electric version, at 5.6 seconds in the acceleration figure, powered by a 65 kilowatt-hour battery. That's not too large in the electric segment overall, you have to say. Other combustion engine versions would be a 2-liter 4-cylinder diesel or a weaker petrol engine, a 3-cylinder 1.5-liter turbo petrol engine if you want it a little bit more affordable. And very interesting, whereas in Europe they leave an engine gap between the 1.5-liter 3-cylinder and the X2 M35i, in the US you can also get the 28i. This is also then a 2-liter 4-cylinder with 245 horsepower, 6.5 seconds in the acceleration figure, so that gap is filled. But actually in the US, that is then the entry-level petrol engine, whereas the 1.5-liter 3-cylinder is not available there. That is then the entry-level engine in the European market. This one here, by the way, also an M35i, but here in frozen Portimao blue. Also matte color, also one of my favorite ones. It looks so striking. Also then here once again with the super large wheels. These ones are the biggest ones, 21. So an even more striking look. Tell me in the comments which color would you pick today actually. Maybe you've seen it or maybe you wondered. This is here a BMW CE02 or O2, and it's an electric motorcycle, electric scooter in a motorcycle style. So they're doing that meanwhile as well. Maybe some of you know that I also have a motorcycle background. I actually started driving motorcycles before I was driving cars because I was starting to ride motocross when I was, I think, 13 or something. Yeah, and then also motorcycles on the street and so on. There is actually one or two reviews of motorcycles also on our channel, but of course we haven't, invested much in that. It's usually all about cars here on Autogefühl. Today, when I open it here with the key, there you can see how the illumination of the front double kidney comes to life. So this is the iX2 electric version. There's a front-wheel driven or an all-wheel driven electric version available. The all-wheel drive one and the second quickest one behind the M35i. And you can see here the inlet of this grille is different. This is then all the way closed. So this is basically the only electric look and the blue ring around the BMW logo. Other than that, this one is also equipped with the M Sport Pack, and that's why we also have the black accentuations in the lower part. And this is one of my favorite colors at BMW overall. This is Brooklyn Grey. It just looks amazing no matter if you go for a sedan or for an SUV. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now taking the bets. Is there a frunk or is there none? Nah, this is also not something you can push up. There is no frunk actually. Yeah. But there's wiper fluid, at least. Key fob here with M colors in the M Performance version. Flush door handles, but they still give you a haptic feedback to open and close, by the way. You hold your hand right here, then it closes, or you put your hand underneath, then it opens with this keyless function. Then door closing sound is okay, nothing special I have to say. Then inside, this is soft touch. Then here we have a microfiber version. Different versions are available. Also cool here from the optional Harman Kardon sound system, this speaker design. Soft touch also here, but then hardback here, and there's also no inside covering, so there's no felt or whatsoever. Then this one, being the M35i, also gets the M Sport steering wheel with the contrast stitches on the inside. That looks pretty fancy. Oh, and also these shifting pedals here with plus and minus. That's cool. Then the seats, there are sport seats or comfort seats in general. You have fabric available. You have a high-grade leatherette available, for example. This one, however, is then the sport seat with the microfiber. So these come also with the integrated head restraint. And then here on the top part, you can see this like this perforated microfiber, and the colors of the M badge here, these different 3 colors, they shine through this perforation. That is a lovely job indeed. So the high-grade leather red is also very soft, so-called veganza material. And here, some with the microfiber, well, the sport is actually quite firm. So far, so good. But I think the softest version would indeed be the high-grade leather red version if you want like the best seating comfort in that respect. Steering wheel with a manual control, up and down, in and out, and also the whole process is also pretty smooth. I like that. And on the steering wheel, you still have real buttons to set the cruise control, for example, or here for the volume. I really prefer to have that. And interesting for all European viewers here, there is this secret hotkey, which no one should know about, to cancel these speed warnings every time, you know, when you're going like 1 kilometer an hour, just too quick, and like bing, bing, bing. Press and hold the set button, then it's deactivated. Then I'm mentioning it in that review might also lead to the regulators disallowing that, but at least when you have that vehicle here, then you know how to deactivate it when you have just bought it. And headroom here without a panoramic roof, really a lot left with 189/642. Interior cockpit overview, 10.25 on the left, 10.7 screen on the right. Here, also with the microfiber insert as a decor element, but different decor elements are available here as well. The vents are still controlled manually, and the steering wheel from this perspective, again, you see the sportiness here, for example, also with the 12 o'clock marking in the lower part. That's very interesting. You basically have a seat belt for your smartphone because there's the inductive charging pad and then it's being held tight. And also on the back part, there are cooling holes that it doesn't overheat. Just see the cup holders, they are not adaptive, and then this is happening, so yeah, they need to fix this. Flying middle console with space underneath, and on the console you have the shifting lever, reverse, drive mode, and for example here you can click for the driving modes. Glad to still at least have the manual volume jog. And I wondered, what am I supposed to put in here? Well, obviously not a smartphone, maybe a handkerchief? So the driving mode selection, you have to press in the middle console, and then you have to switch and press in the screen to access the sport mode. But then this screen is staying. For example, then if you want to switch back to the GPS, you have to press nav again. Then you're back here, for example, at this navigation system. This is the car internal one. You can see it's actually quite responsive. This is OS... This is because the car has turned itself off now to save the battery. This is OS 9 now actually, so a new software version for that. And we, for example, also have Apple CarPlay. There's a hotkey here in the lower part. There we go. This is the CarPlay integration. The Harman Kardon sound system, by the way, is pretty decent. That's a good, rich sound indeed. Very three-dimensional as well. So like that, and the rest of the BMW internal system here. So this is then the main menu with all the apps, and I think once again it's just an app overload. Like, where am I supposed to find what? Live vehicle is always good for like consumption and so on. Digital instruments. When the car is running, you can always select the content you want to see, but you can also switch the whole layout of that system here. For example, this more classic view like this, or then this half view maybe. And one of my favorite features is always that when you have Apple Maps in Apple CarPlay, you can also have it here, the view in the instruments. BMW is the only manufacturer to offer that so far, at least what I have seen, and really with the map integration. That works with Google Maps when you have Android Auto, but Google Maps in Apple CarPlay, that combination does not work like here. And there's also a head-up display. It's a rear one projected into the windscreen. Now to the rear compartment. First of all, rear door closing sound. I would say it's okay, nothing special. But what's special is that even in the rear doors, we have here the soft covering here. Then also these microfiber inserts in the M Performance version. Softer here, just in the very low part. It's hardback. And then we also have the microfiber version then for the rear seats. It's being said, well, it's not being said, it's fact, it actually has a longer wheelbase, but does that translate into more legroom than before? So before we hardly had any legroom in the X2. Now it's not abundant, but you see here, when I put my knees in this recess, then it works with tall adults, even if a tall adult is driving. These sport seats, of course, are very voluminous as well. So yeah, but then you have to put your knees like this, a little bit like this would not work that well. And headroom exactly fits with 189, a 6'2", that's really close, but works. Yeah, but overall the comfort is actually quite fine. Then you can also fold the seats from here. You have to do it from here with these straps here. And then you can also see here, yeah, put it a little bit more upright or fold it down completely. And you can also do the same with this middle part here for a ski hatch, or pull this one down. Then you have adaptive cup holders here. And in the middle console you have two USB-C chargers. Is it also possible that I sit on the middle part? Oh, these rear floor mats, they fly around easily as well. So middle part sitting is, that is close in every respect, so not to be recommended, rather for 4. To open the hatch here, we have to flip the logo. That looks quite fancy, doesn't it? And now let's imagine you're discussing at home if you go for the all-electric version, the 3-cylinder mild hybrid, or here the top performance version. You could say, wait a minute, the M35i has the largest luggage volume with 560 liters, 90 liters more than before, width 1.40 meters. The length here, slightly less, like 90 centimeters or 35 inches, so well usable. And you can see when I get out the luggage, then you can also see the difference, because here, this one doesn't have a battery in the rear, so there is much space underneath the left. Look at that. And here, this is a cool feature. Have you seen that? It stays up here, so you can easily load everything in here and then put it down again. So this is a very good solution. And you can also fold the seats individually there, like one. And how could you see it's an EV? Well, here, the blue ring around the logo. And in the trunk, there's a small difference actually. The cool thing is that on top, there's no difference here from the depth and so on. But just when you put this one up, then you have here space for a charging cable. And this space is kind of missing here. So what you see here is actually not part of the battery. It's part of the drivetrain unit for the rear axle that sits underneath here and is taking the space. Then second interior for today. This is the EV, but this is not connected. You can get this interior here for all BMW X2 versions. And these here are the black Veganza seats. So it's the high-grade leatherette material, also with perforation. And usually the fabric or the microfiber is softer, but in this case here actually the surface is softer. And I have to say that this seat then here is more comfortable than the microfiber seat we have in the M350i. But you can go for this one here also in other versions and so on. So I think I would actually prefer this one here overall than as the best solution. And on the dashboard you have this structure in here. It's also soft touch, so, yeah, also pretty cool. Welcome to Thomas's active driving lounge with the BMW X2 M35i. My mode, clicking here, sport mode here. If I want to use the launch control, please don't repeat, not on public roads. Here, driving dynamics, sport to sport plus. Then it's also possible for the launch control mode. I can also put here to the S shifting mode. Now I'm done. And when I'm now hit the brake pedal with my left foot and the accelerator pedal with my right foot, this happens. There we go. That went quick. The only thing is that when I have the launch control active, then you cannot see that speed in the middle part. So that's a little bit irritating, at least to you as a viewer. So yeah, maybe that you can see the speed. I'll just slow down a little bit and make like this this rolling start. Then you can see speed and how quickly it accelerates. So let's go again. There we go, that was 290. Yeah, you heard the Lia meter was also active somewhat. And now, wow, this is what this car is doing best. Driving sporty, it's compact, it's light in comparison to other bigger SUVs and so on. Wow, the steering here gives me a good feeling, way better, for example, in the BMW 3 Series. Good feeling for the whole vehicle. I know exactly what it's doing. Yes, it is always a front wheel bias, but there were also power sent to the rear wheels, and it feels so balanced. Suspension really sporty and stiff. Wow, really precise out of the corners as well. Nice sound. It's of course enhanced here from the speakers on the inside, but on a dynamic scale here, this is awesome. Adaptive M suspension here, which is, as I said earlier, not adaptive in the sense that I can change it in the screen. And yeah, I'm easily catching up to the Porsche there in front of me. Of course, yeah, he's not driving that fast. Yeah, I mean, the suspension is very stiff, but here the road is quite good. So that's fine. That's a lot of fun then, pretty cool. And yeah, the overall setup, I mean, you don't feel that you will be driving. I mean, I would rather feel driving like this one there in front of me. Is making space or what? Seems like. Yeah, probably wants to do some enjoy ride just with open top. Wow, overtaking process, a lot of fun. This is awesome. Again, the 20-inch wheels, suspension combo, really sporty and stiff, but for that here, it's ideal to do that. Woo! Yeah, but yeah, you feel that when now it's getting bumpy, and there it almost feels like you are being in an F1 car or something. So it will be really interesting, of course, how it will perform when we measure the comfort and stuff. But wow, the sporty side is just amazing. And also, if you compare the predecessor, this one here feels even sporty, although it is longer and has a slightly longer wheelbase. Oh, maybe heard that a little bit pre-revving the vehicle or rev matching. But you can also use here the shifting pedals yourself, shifting up, shifting down. That's also a lot of fun. But I actually feel, I mean, the shifting pedals, they don't give you the best or most crucial feedback. I would say more feedback indeed you get from the turning indicators. That is a lot of fun. So to me, the turning indicators is one of the most fun things. You know, there is this meme that people always say BMW drivers don't hit the turning indicators. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but there is this, like this prejudice out there. But the thing is, probably they made like, hey, let's just make turning indicators so much fun that people will use them always, And I can just stress that using the turning indicator here is so much fun, just really rocks. Well, and if you go back here, personal mode, normal, shifting mode, and so on, everything is really calmed down, more silent. Then you can enjoy also these curvy bends in a calm style, and I really love that. So also just in normal driving mode here, the steering feedback is a little bit different, but still fine. The suspension, as I said, does not change. And as I said here, as long as the roads are really well done and nice and smooth, it's really all fine. But when it gets bumpy, then you saw that on on one part of the road already. When you have bumpy roads, it really gets very uncomfortable. So, and I would have wished a little bit more of both, sportiness and comfort at the same time. But that's not happening here. So especially if you go here for the all-new X2 with the M Sport suspension, or if you are with the M Performance model here, you have to be aware of it is a very sporty vehicle and you will lose comfort. What could you do? Go for base spec. Don't go for the M suspension. Get smaller wheels. These are the main things you could actually do. The iX2 is also equipped with the adaptive M suspension and with the lowered body. So these ones here, sporty and the EV version, always have that that lowered suspension to give you a little bit more sportiness with the electric version because of the weight mainly. So it is so much fun, yes, definitely. But you always have to keep everyday comfort in mind. It is very silent though, so the insulation for a compact vehicle is actually quite nice. And you have good overview still. So seating really depends on the materials and the sport or comfort seat if you pick. But that is the main thing with this vehicle. So about the suspension and the wheels, you really majorly decide from version to version or from trim to trim how sporty or how comfortable you set this vehicle. And now, here more motorway-esque road, also a little bit quicker, and cruise control set here also with the active lane keeping assist. You can see very smooth movements, of course still level 2, so you're supposed to keep your hands on the steering wheel. It's also very well done, and from the rolling noise and wind noise here at about 80 kilometers an hour is also well done and quite silent. And acceleration of the iX2, officially just 0.2 seconds difference. Let's see how it turns out here. Plop, that's 90. Woo! I heard the Leah meter was going a little bit further this time in the electric version. I mean, it's it's weird, right? The M35i, it sounded, of course, more extreme in a way. But here, it felt quicker, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Although it is not really quicker, you know, at least on paper. Maybe we check the time codes, but it should be more or less.
Boost is like...
Yeah, I think it's especially because the electric boost is like from the get-go, you know, and then the combustion engine catches up. But like from zero, like sprinting forward, that's why you have the instant torque. So performance-wise, it is not lacking anything here. There is this all-wheel drive version for the electric drivetrain, then there's the front-wheel drive version only with a little bit less power, of course. That is possible too. Yeah, but here in the all-wheel drive version, definitely I can say equal power, and it's also a lot of fun. It has the more or less same suspension. They didn't tune it to the very stiff mode they did for the M35i. So here they drawn the suspension, let's say, a little bit back. So they already have the adaptive M suspension here, both front axle with the frequency adaptive dampers, not to be adjusted here. But then again, they didn't go to the sportiest extent, and we have 20-inch wheels mounted here, and I feel there is indeed a slight difference. So whereas I would say that the M Performance model, really too rough, here I feel when we're going over some bumps here, it is still a notable stiff suspension, yes, but I feel that it's not that extreme actually. What do you say? Difference?
Yeah.
You feel it too? Yeah. So that's really interesting. So for the M Performance model, I would have said it's just too stiff for everyday driving. Then at least maybe go 19-inch wheels or something, or go for then the base suspension and not for the X2 M35i. But here in the electric version, I think it's still fine. It might also have to do with, think about, there is added weight here due to the battery, and then of course when you have more weight, it kind of automatically puts more pressure on the dampers, which could be better than for the comfort in this case, you know what I mean? From the driving agility, low center of gravity also with the battery, and it's really cool. So yeah, the 35i feels maybe a little bit more engaging, but here is also really nice and agile. You could out of the corners really quickly. That instant torque is something also where I could say accelerating out kind of feels even sportier. Of course, this sensation of sound is stronger with the M35i. Yeah, it's sorry about it. It's a very complicated name, isn't it? But here, wow, that instant torque is really sensational. Wow. Really cool. So you can have at least as much fun here with the electric version. Oh, you can see here from the GPS also this augmented reality camera view. Two more things EV related. First of all, to the recuperation. So either you have the adaptive recuperation mode, and that means when I lift my foot off the throttle and there's no one in front of me, then the car is just rolling, there's no regenerative braking. However, when I get closer to a vehicle in front of me, then there is recuperation, and I really feel that. The good thing is, it is adaptive according to the situation. The bad thing is not as predictable. Here, for example, now there's strong recuperation. I didn't use the brakes, and it's just adaptive. When I was freeway, nothing at all. To make it predictable and always hard regenerative braking, sorry about that, then here you go here to the B mode using the shifting pedal, and then lift my throttle foot here off, then it's always hard recuperation actually. And this is more predictable. Then again, it might put some more stress on the passenger. So this is always the thing to consider with electric vehicle. You have to be really gentle with your foot. With recuperation with the brake pedal itself, this is also kind of hard because this brake blending is not working perfectly. So I'm slightly on the brake pedal, not much is happening. When the real brakes set in, then it's a stronger braking, so you also need to get a feeling for that. When you're here in the driving settings, you have to know that you can still click this one and then go deep in the menu and switch from adaptive to low, moderate or high, and then it stays at, for example, a low recuperation level. However, it's always being reset again when you start the vehicle the next time. Second thing I want to talk about is here when I put these driving mode selection. There's the driving mode selection here and the second button for driving settings, and here I can deactivate or activate iconic sounds, and especially in the sport mode. You heard it earlier when I'm in the sport mode here. So, but I can also just turn it off like here, and then there's when I'm on the throttle, nothing, completely silent. So you can choose that if you want to have that or not. I think it's good that you have the choice, because some might find it cool, some might just find it annoying. So that's about the EV specific facts. But I have to say, overall, what is trim related, what is powertrain related? Trim related, that these seats here are more comfortable. So go for these Veganza seats here. Also, you know, in favor of the microfiber seats, for example. They are here just most comfortable seat form and also from the surface. And then suspension here is a little bit better in the EV version. It might be also better or good in the diesel or in the smaller petrol engine. Cannot comment on that yet, but definitely when we compare the M35i against here the all-wheel drive iX2, this one here is the better ride. It feels like it would be more suitable to the vehicle. Yes, the M35i drives also excellent, no doubt about that, but this one here just feels better. It is as sporty, at the same time a little bit more comfortable, just feels as it would be the better overall package. But then again, the alternative would also be going for maybe the 3-cylinder petrol engine or the diesel or whatever, you know, whatever suits your lifestyle best, because here aren't we limited with the range. So the recharging is somewhat limited at 130 kilowatt peak, means 10 to 80% state of charge, 29 minutes for fast charging. But what about the range here of the iX2 today? Well, as for the efficiency, it was quite good in good conditions. 16 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. That's close to 4 miles per kilowatt hour. However, with more motorway mix in there, we rather got to 18, 19 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. That's more like 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour. So overall, that means in good conditions and with not too much high speed, we are at around 400 kilometers or 250 miles of real world range. And with more high-speed motorway, more like 350 kilometers or like 220 miles. So which one would I buy? Well, in most cases, I think it wouldn't be enough range for me, but it always depends on the use case. For the iX2, the X2 M35i, a little bit too rough, I feel. So honestly, my configuration for today would be Brooklyn Grey exterior, not the M Sport package, base, not the M Sport suspension, base suspension, getting a more smooth ride, and taking the 28i in the US or the 20i in Germany would be enough power in most cases and not as rough as the M35i. And then the Veganza seats on the interior, as we've shown you with this very vehicle. Well, which one would you go for? Which configuration?
So which one would I take home from these SUVs? First of all, I think the BMW XM doesn't really make that much sense as a whole concept. They just blow up the price, give a little bit of a different design, and you know, with all that weight, it doesn't give so much performance. Then maybe if it is better in taxation for you to go all electric or something, it is maybe better just to go for the iX M60. But then if you want a more puristic experience, you could also think to go for one of the smaller models, like X3 or the X4. The X2, of course, is great in handling. Yet again, it also feels like a compact BMW, so it doesn't give you this comfort that the bigger SUVs are giving you. So when I think of a performance model of the BMW SUVs, I would rather fancy one of the bigger models to get this whole luxury SUV experience, yet at the same time get more performance and driving fun. And the sweet spot to me is there the M60i model of the X6 or also of the X5. Both are available in that model spec. And they also make more sense than the true M versions because they give you everyday driving comfort without being less fun or something. So the X6 M60i or the X5 M60i, they are both so much fun to drive, yet at the same time greatly available with animal-free seats in this Sensación spec, especially since the facelift, so great build quality. And they also recently stepped up the game as for the reliability rankings. So overall, the X6 M60i, or then also when exchanged with the X5 if you don't want the SUV coupe shape, these models would be my favorite pick here. Which one is yours and why? Tell me in the comments, and also join us for more comparison episodes.